How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? This is Christian with Liberty After Dark. I'm just going to go ahead and do a real quick intro for part 2 of the episode with David and Mary from Liberty Late Night. Absolutely fantastic. We go over a lot of controversial topics, stuff like abortion, stuff like conspiracy theories, circumcision. So there's a lot of great conversation here, a lot of exchanging of ideas and just kind of mulling through the topics. We have a special guest from Sirens, so it's first time appearance. She's been a listener of the show for a few weeks now, so she managed to come on through Discord, and we had a good conversation with her as well. I will say, as a bit of a disclaimer, there's a section when we're talking about circumcision where the numbers that I'm giving are off by pretty much a factor of 10. So whenever you get to that part, there was a miscommunication sort of between myself and the chat and the group, but at the end of the day, I was wrong, so I wanted to go ahead and preface this at the beginning. Some of the numbers I give are not accurate, so the conversation as a whole I think is still very good and well-founded. However, I did want to bring this up beforehand. I won't hold you guys any longer, though. Please enjoy this episode.
That Pentagon investigation that never happened, the $2 trillion, it just...
Poof. It was just an auditing mistake. Numbers got shifted wrong.
Oh yeah, it was just a couple, like a decimal point, got moved.
So it's a real shame that missile plane hit the Pentagon. That same day,
Yeah. All those documents are gone. We had receipts for everything. Burned up.
Had receipts.
All the receipts were in that wing of the Pentagon.
Yes.
It was a lot of Starbucks.
You know how different our
$2 trillion to Starbucks. That's why they're so big now.
Some food comp, yeah.
Our whole, the whole when 9/11 happened for us was, obviously, we were. Yeah,
we were still deep in it.
Yeah, we were like, oh my gosh, how could they do this to our country?
Where's my fucking flag?
Yeah. I'm like,
it was kind of beautiful. Like we felt like united for a couple days.
It was cool just because as people, we were,
every pickup truck had a flag on the back.
It was like Christmas. Everyone was being nice to each other,
Everybody was at church,
Yeah, being all pleasant and hugging on everyone. But I don't know. I remember watching the news and just all of it coming in, and I'm thinking like, how could they? How could we do this to us?
How could we?
Yeah. And then you learn about it, and it's like, oh,
wait, some of this shit doesn't add up.
Yeah, I'm like, they were so mad at. I remember saying it. They were so mad at us
for our freedom.
That they did this to us. And then you learn about blowback, and you're like, oh,
don't say blowback. You'll get booed off the stage, right, Ron Paul? Blowback. Wait, you're insinuating that this might somehow be not even our fault, but a reaction to maybe one of our actions or several actions that we have may have done?
Because tell me the U.S. wouldn't freak the you-know-what out if we were being treated the way these being other occupied. Countries... Yeah.
And not even on a government level, but us red-blooded Americans.
Yeah. Feel like we're tell me that
people would
Americans
do some really bad
do
things.
that.
So we went to City Hall here to do, and there was a protest going on, and it was like, Americans leave, get the fuck out of our country. And then my buddy was like, oh, they don't understand. Like, we're the one line of defense against North Korea. And I was like, let me ask you for a second. Yeah, I was like, what? So what happens if like Russia let's take an ally. South Korea's our ally. What happens when Germany opens up a military base in your town? Like, would you be okay with that? And he'd be like, who's like, well, they don't need to be here. And I was like, they feel the same way as us.
When they're patrolling your streets and just kind of coming in the bar, cause a little trouble, that's cool. They'll go back to their base and get taken care of over there.
They got to have their MPs out on the streets to keep their people in line. And then, what do you know? Like, next thing you know, you have German military police officers all racked up and ready to go patrolling your streets. Like, that'll go over well.
Yeah.
Like,
you're about to meet some American ingenuity.
It's a good way to get firebombed is what it is. And I feel bad too, because obviously, hopefully those people didn't want to be there either, but one way or another. But in this imaginary scenario, like he would have been one of those people. He's a America. He would have been one of those people like, get out of my country, you Nancy.
It's like, we blow shit up in our yard for fun. Imagine if we we're very ingenious in creating explosions in our country, our rural backyards. Mm-hmm. What's up, Seth Davis? Sorry.
Yeah. It is.
But yeah. Like they have those memes where it's like you can't invade American mainland because we are armed to the teeth, and even if we're not, we blow shit up for fun.
It's like Japan said when their documents came out after the war. It's like the idea of invading mainland U.S. is insane because behind every blade of grass is the quote, there exists a firearm.
Yeah.
It's so true. Like I walk down the street and I'm like, oh, dang it. Someone dropped their Glock. It's like throw it in the trash bin.
I have friends that I work with who literally trip over guns in their house. Like they did. That's their
become
collection.
Obsessed with, I'm sorry, collectors.
He lives alone, so he doesn't need gun locks because he doesn't have kids. He literally like, oh, I left this AK sitting out again.
Yeah. That's great though.
Oh.
I mean, why not? Why not? And you know what? Just to say too about Liberty memes. Oh, me too, Seth. That's when we first started looking at Liberty memes. Well, Dave was looking at it, and he would show me. He's like, "You got to check this out, and I'm like, am I allowed to laugh at that? Like, I would ask, like, can I laugh at that? Because that feels kind of weird, like to laugh at that.
The 9/11 one caught me off guard when I started following.
Oh yeah.
It's a little too far for me.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, what is the purpose of this? Why do you guys think this is okay? This is kind of.
But then you kind of learn like it's but then it's freeing in a way that I love it. I love it so much that I can
Tower
laugh
7,
at it.
That was a paper fire, guys. Paper fire.
Yeah, I always remember that video clip and we decided to pull that one, or we decided to pull Tower 7. Like, wait, what do you mean pull? You decided? I mean, usually it takes a little while to set up a demolition. How are you just going to just decide to pull a building? What does that mean? Like, yeah, we decided to pull that. Like, how? What does that? What does those words mean?
Yeah.
I need more explanation.
Oh man, it's just a total.
Like my girls, like I like Tower 7.
Yeah,
going down for no reason.
Yep. It was one of those things that it took me as a statist conservative to a while to get behind. I had to like acclimate myself to it.
Even now, it's like I really can't, totally 100% be like, I don't know.
I mean,
I'm fine with it.
Yeah,
it's like, is this really helping?
Sirens it got me to ask the question, to be completely honest. I mean, being completely transparent, I was very passionate person about 9/11 before that, just because it was like so many people died, and that is like one of the biggest tragedies in American history, if not the biggest.
It is.
Yeah. And it's
and
something I took very seriously. And so, first I was offended, and then I was like, okay, well, I guess let's see if there's anything behind this. And it's like, oh, there's something behind this, and that's a wake up call.
And that's another thing. It
Right.
opens up your mind, and it's a holiday on both ends. Like he said, 9/11 is the best Liberty memes holiday, but it's also like it's almost like an American, a holiday. Like,
and I am. God bless the people and the families who lost people. That was people jumping out of buildings. Like I can't even imagine. I remember watching it and seeing
people drop.
Yeah. But just the whole idea of why it happened, and
that's
where
thing.
it shifted for me.
Okay, so we're keeping it. We got to keep it wide open, because if we're not allowed to even question, that's what it is. It's like it allows you to question the motives, the reason, what actually transpired, rather than just being like, no, we have to be solemn about this. Here's what happened, and this is what you believe. And if you stray outside of that,
and now this gives
so
us
we're
a
just like a wild
attack.
course. Be like, no, fuck that. We're going to question everything, and we're going to laugh about it, and we're going to make sure everybody looks at this from every perspective.
Yeah, and just real quick, I can't say I have all the information on 9/11. There's still so much that isn't known that it's really hard to just say like, yeah, I know the full story. But I don't think it takes a lot to say that the official story is crap. And that's all I really needed.
In one way or another.
Yeah. I mean, it could have been the plane smack into the buildings. The jet fuel could have melted the steel beams, but that doesn't explain how these people got through, how these people got there, why
it was let to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The Pentagon fiasco, I mean, Tower 7 by itself is an entire just black hole of information. And it's just, it's
that
not,
makes you question everything else.
and once you question the official story, it's like, I may not have all the answers, but I know what isn't true. And it's not that a bunch of terrorists got into a plane and said, "Death to America," and smacked them into a couple buildings.
Right. Yeah. It had nothing to do with what they are trying to feed us. The whole story of like, oh, they hate us because we have Las Vegas. We can gamble.
That's exactly what I remember.
Sirens here brings up a good point, and I wouldn't say I lost a friend, but I went from having a really good friend to not so great friend because we got into a big argument about this, and I made the comment that he did not like, and he still doesn't like to this day. Has brought it up multiple times, but
oh boy,
he's like, it's kind of fucked up whenever you said this thing. He's like, you gonna apologize yet? And I'm like, but she says nothing unites people like a common enemy. Oldest trick in the book. We got Nazi Germany'd.
Yep.
We did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Pretty much all of America got Nazi Germany. They were like, "Oh my God, look at all the bad things that are happening. We got to go blow up these
when all
brown
those Jews
people."
got in the plane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
It's true. I mean, it is that, and we all of a sudden everybody was
lost their damn mind.
They
just
were
glassed the Middle
we were
East.
all like, oh,
how many times have you heard that?
Go fight,
carpet bomb it.
Yeah,
I want glass fields. Are you insane?
We'll put a Kmart up there or something.
Aunt Nancy, are you insane? You want to carpet bomb an entire nation?
God, it's so true though. It's like, well, we'll just throw them in camps. If we can't carpet bomb them. God, it's so true.
Get them in the boxcars. We'll get this sorted out.
Yeah, exactly. We'll build up a rail infrastructure for the good ones, and then the Kurds can stay, but everyone else has got to go. So
everyone else has to go. I have to say this: the firefighters for 9/11 running, and this is what they do. They do for their living is they run into burning buildings to rescue people. So regardless of 9/11, whatever, if anyone wants to call anyone a hero, I'm like, thank you, firefighters, for God forbid my house were ever to catch on fire and you had to come in and rescue me or come in and try to put out the blaze.
First responders,
yeah, you guys are. That's what I see is you are really helping people. You are really selflessly helping people. That's what I think. So anyway, I just had to say that. I have to pee so bad. I'll be right back. Gosh, don't put that in the
You're fine. It's going in. Mary's peeing in the sink. It's or do. It's it's something I always come back to. Just like we got duped really hard, and it's not gonna look pretty in the future. Like when we have a great historical perspective on this, like
when history looks back on,
they're gonna be like, oh yeah, this was the excuse for us to.
Well, it depends on who wins.
Oh.
Winners write the history books.
Yeah, for a time, but Rome wasn't around forever.
They wrote some history books.
Yes,
they got revised.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's one of those things that it's kind of both like so shocking still that I almost don't even know what to say. Like, I mean, I this is one of my earliest memories was I was in my little classroom, and I don't know why they did this, but they never did it after this. That they would play like big news stories on the TV because they were very big about people being like open to information. And so we had all these TVs, and the school would be like, all right, well, let's watch this thing that's going on in the news. Like we watched the inauguration, we watched all that stuff. And then 9/11 happened, and an announcement came over, and it's like, oh, all the teachers, please turn your TV. We're kids. I was a little kid. I was in like kindergarten. And I remember she turned the TV on. It was on for maybe about 30 seconds. And then the second plane smacked into the tower, and they were like, turn off the TVs right now. And I was like, okay. I was just a kid. My mom came to pick me up from school. I remember she like sat down in front of the TV, told me not to come into the living room, and just sat there and just like cried. And I was like, that's my one of my earliest like big memories is, and it's obviously fragments, but like, you know, that's
we have the same thing. That ours was the Challenger explosion.
Yeah.
Same deal. But they rolled the TV in like, hey, check it out. This rocket's about to blast off. There's a teacher on board. Oh, that doesn't look right. Oh, no.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were at Eaton Park when that happened. Actually, me and her were together, and Mary's like, dude, a plane crashed in the World Trade Tower or whatever. And I'm like, so what? You know, I imagined like a little like 2-seater plane, like, oh, yeah, okay. And then like suddenly like the restaurant's empty. Everybody went home. You know, and it's just like, and everybody's kind of on edge. Like, is this the beginning of something? Like, we thought, like, are we literally under attack? Is this like phase 1 of something that's going to be happening? Yeah, it was a crazy day.
Yeah, it was a crazy week.
But yeah, that was wild. But yeah, and on that, like, I remember, you know, what's funny is that when we were in, I don't remember what grades we started, like, I'm trying to remember if we had actual TV screens like in our rooms, or if they'd roll in the TV on the cart, you know, like, because we didn't have flat screen.
Yeah, it was a CRT.
So I imagine, yeah, it was a rolling. And every morning in homeroom or whatever, we'd watch Channel 1, I think it was called. And this was, you know, a while ago. And you know, what's his, Anderson Cooper?
Oh,
was,
yeah.
was the one of the news people. This teenager or preteen news guy was Anderson Cooper, and he told us the news every morning in our school, and this is where we got our information from in the morning. And now it's like, it's kind of funny, you know, because now he's on Channel 1 telling us what or on CNN or whatever, telling us what to think. And it's like, all of this is, and where we're at, we're questioning is like, was this all part of the indoctrination? Like, we need to trust this kid to give us our information and believe what he's saying. And now he's on maybe the state mouthpiece or whatever cable news is, telling us what we should think about what's going on in the world.
And CNN is one of the most popular news distributors on planet Earth. Yeah. Next to talk shows, actually. Talk shows have
the most trusted name in news. Who says?
Yeah, exactly.
No, we're telling you, you should trust this name in news. It's the most trusted.
The only 100% verifiable news outlet on planet Earth is WikiLeaks. So something important to keep in mind.
It's just the information dumped there. You sort through it. They're not even telling you what to look at. Here's all the information. Figure it out yourself.
Yeah, literally. That's all they do. Is they just facilitate it. But they do fact check as well, which is very important. They have an entire team of they just don't dump anything. You can't just like leak them like, oh, look, these are government documents. And they're like, seems legit. Dump them. No, they fact check everything to the greatest extent that they can. And
do they really?
Yeah.
Who is this now?
WikiLeaks.
That's why it took so long for them to dump all of the DNC stuff, because when they got it, they didn't know if it was true or not, if it was all fabricated, and they had to do the best they could to verify.
Oh yeah,
and it turns out, you know, it took them months to release them after they already said like, hey, we got these things, we're gonna go through them all, and we're gonna release them. Like Clinton emails took months to verify, also the ones that they got. So, which is enough to be incriminating. First off, yeah. There's a man in prison right now for inciting international violence, and they literally say in the Clinton emails like, hey, we're going to put this guy up on a stick so that no one else gets the flack for it. That's like in the Clinton emails. He's still in prison. That should have been one of the first things is like, oh my God, like get this man out of jail right now.
Right.
I don't remember what his name is.
Laws are for poor people.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Oh, yeah.
Rip Liberty memes.
Why don't people care about this stuff, though? That's what I want to know.
It's easier to not care. It's so much easier.
Yeah. Oh, it's so much brain work.
It's easier to detach yourself from it all and just be like, yeah, well, none of this affects me. I'm not in jail. You know? And I think that's, you know, you let that happen for long enough, and then you wind up in a... There was a
as long as you're not doing anything wrong.
Yeah, there was a really good read I had about like police shootings throughout the decades, and how like police shootings in like the 50s and 60s weren't really like that bad at all. Cops were very conservative about using their gun, and that was really also around the time when like every depiction of a police officer on planet Earth was like Smiling Bob, here to help you. I'm here for you, police officer.
Oh, what is the cover of the Saturday Evening Post or whatever? What's that artist's name that did all those?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I can't think
But
of his name.
that was your cop back then, sitting at the soda jerk stand with the little kid.
Yeah.
And
I can't think of his name.
And it was a really interesting read, and it was basically the argument was, and I don't have anything to really refute it. It's just an interesting opinion analysis, but he basically said like the perpetuation of this, like all cops are saints, is what allowed bad cops to start to proliferate. And when they started doing shadier things, there was already the indoctrination of, well, cops are good. They're all good.
I'm sure they had a reason for doing what they did.
I'm sure they had a reason.
Exactly. And then you don't ask
we
questions.
need to hear the full story. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We need to hear the full story. Oh, the full story never came out? Okay, whatever. That's back there now.
Yeah.
Next.
If you can get the full story, you should wait for the full story. But if not, use what you got. Use what you got.
How do your parents feel? I'm sorry. How do your parents feel when you talk about this kind of stuff? Like, do you ever have these conversations with your parents?
My mom.
This just makes me think of my dad.
She makes most of my custom ANCAP shirts, actually, and she's not an ANCAP. I wouldn't even say she's a libertarian, but I've slightly.
Yay!
Me and my dad, like, kind of, sort of got a little bit woked before I started coming in together, and then I've just kind of like infected him more, and he'll be like, "Man, this is so stupid," and I'm like, "Isn't it? Isn't it stupid? None of this shit exists." Yeah.
Why do you say that?
Let's go to the root of this problem.
Yeah.
I got him to accept the taxation as theft. That was like one of the biggest. That's one of the biggest hurdles for most people. I don't think I've like changed. No. I've at least given him some new perspective, but they're supportive. They are very big on me believing whatever I want to believe. I learned a lot about economics and politics through my stepfather, who's a big conservative, which is probably why I started off as a constitutional conservative. But I would have rather started there, I guess, than start as a full left whack kid, that's a much harder transition to make.
I think so.
Norman Rockwell. That's what I was looking for.
Norman Rockwell.
Thanks,
there you
Celeste.
go.
Yeah.
Celeste. Yeah. I don't really have a lot of these conversations with my parents. I mean,
I'm also very anti-confrontational, so it's like I'll say something to my dad and he'll say, "Boy," and I'm like, okay, yeah. It's like I won't agree with you, but I won't.
We're not going to have this fight.
There's no point. But I believe in the meme thing where it's like, I'm going to put this little thing in your brain and you go ahead and do what you want with it. Yeah. But if you resist, I'm okay. I roll over quick.
It was a little like at first I just kind of like just was like dropping like little like boom. This I got my first libertarian shirt made from her. She was like, "Oh, you're like a libertarian now," and it's like, "Yeah, this is the thing, and this is what it is." And she's like, "Oh, that's cool, I guess."
Wait, so your mom makes T-shirts?
Well, she owns a vinyl business now.
Okay.
So back then she used to like make shirts for friends and stuff like that. Well, she just like cut out the middleman basically and started selling the vinyl, and so she's damn near a wholesaler at this point. She's got this like giant store that she runs, and it's fantastic.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, she just like quit teaching one day. She was like, "Teaching is bunk." And then yeah, I got
Good
her.
For her.
Yeah. And
when you first said that, I'm like, "Oh, your mom makes you T-shirts. That's sweet."
Yeah.
She gets out the glitter glue and
they're nice T-shirts. I'm getting her to make a no need roads T-shirt, and it's like you dad cat boy, no need roads, and he's got his arm.
No need roads,
dude. That's awesome. You got the hookup there.
Nice.
Holy crap!
If I can't find I like to support Liberty memes. So I bought a couple of their shirts. Mm-hmm. Like I got the not every gun grabber is a commie, and it's got the that's where you're wrong, commie. I love that shirt. The Anarchy Ball, I have that shirt, and all of those. But I, I think honestly, I've gotten quite a few interactions about just about shirts, honestly. And I'll get to the comments in a second. Great. I just want to finish this thought. Yeah,
I'm reading them every time I point over there. I'm pointing to the comments
at the gym.
Because I like that.
Especially, like I wore my libertarians want to take over the world to leave you alone meme. Where he's at the globe and everything.
Yeah.
And I got one day. It was just I was with my buddy. Oh, Brian, you guys have met Brian. Oh, B-Rye.
Oh yeah.
And this was before I had converted him. And I love it now. He'll send me a post and he'll be like, "Look at these fucking commies," and I'll be like, "Yes,
Oh, yay,
And,
Brian!
yeah, it's good." I wanted to have him on today.
That's when you've arrived, when you start calling people fucking commies.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're at the level like, no, they ain't people, they commies.
Yeah. He I was at the gym with him and I just got like 3 people in a row were like, "Hey man, I like your shirt. It's pretty cool." And I was like, "Yeah, thanks, man." I was like, "I got it here." And just kind of, I don't know, it's just nice to see that people are at least aware of the word now. Because when I first got some of these people, most of the reactions were like, "You liberal? What is this?" Like,
Yeah. Why you got liberal in your name? Cuck,
Right.
you snowflake. More
I like
liberal.
that though. I that's another way to reach people, is just walking around with a shirt on that is, says something that's not something that they normally see.
Mm-hmm.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
I think that's so cool that your mom does that. And that's so sweet that she wants to support you in that way, that she comes up with awesome stuff for you.
It's like $5 for her, and I don't have to spend $30 on a shirt. So why not?
Yeah, because all those libertarian shirt places are so expensive.
You can think up your own idea and say, "Hey, I like this.
Mm-hmm.
Put this on. This is the message I'm feeling like wearing right now."
No need
I like
roads.
it.
I'm gonna wear that one.
I like it.
I like
Take this stupid shit and put it on.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of nonsense shirts like
Yeah.
this one right here.
This one's
Rabbit with a hair trigger.
this one says nacho average t-shirt.
Ah,
Love that shit.
it.
Just like little stupid shirts. Like I have the Body by Burrito shirt, like all that stuff. So just to get to some of these comments, so the comment section can get some love, because I know we've been kind of going on a tirade for a little bit now, but
And I hope you can use some of this in your your podcast.
This is all good. So John says communist to libertarian is a much easier transition. Replace government does everything to individual does everything, and you're there. I think there's some sort of
Is that sarcasm?
Yeah, I was about to say. I was like, there's an inherent reliance on the state as a necessary tool in communism that you have to get through, which is the hardest part to make anybody a libertarian. Is you have to accept the fact that the state is not a tool. At worst,
and you can't force other people to do what you want them to do.
Yeah. Pragmatists are difficult as fuck. You said my trigger word. Pragmatism. Let's see. My dad's a minarchist. Scroll the feed. Interact with us. I will. I'm trying. I'm sorry. Are they bedazzled?
Cool. We're doing it.
Celeste, no, they're not bedazzled, but I would.
Mom's t-shirt. That's why I said the sparkle.
If it was tastefully bedazzled, I would. I would wear it. I don't know. I'm comfortable enough with my sexuality.
As long as it added to the meme.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if it added something to
there might be some tasteful nudity as long as it added to the story.
Then why not?
If I got a stop being poor shirt and then it like had a diamond in it it was like all dazzled up, I'd wear that.
Sparkly.
Yeah. A little sparkly diamond with some glitter.
Great idea.
I would not wear a stop being poor shirt in public unless it was still a libertarian.
I know, me neither.
So he's saying he's not being sarcastic. The only people that are ideologically consistent are communists and anarchists.
Ideologically
get them. Again, are you being sarcastic?
So the argument that, like, let's say, okay, he's a horrible example, but like, let's say Rand is ideologically consistent. That doesn't make him right, first off.
Mm-hmm.
So he, relatively speaking, okay, I'm trying to think of a politician who's ideologically consistent. Rand has pretty much ran and spoken the same platform since he's gotten into politics.
A libertarian conservative.
Libertarian conservative. I'm not saying he's an example, but I'm trying to give someone who is.
We're air quoting for everybody that's listening.
one of those categories that isn't one of those two, right? And minarchists can be ideologically consistent and believe that the minimal amount of state is a necessity, and you can have that ideology and be consistent about it. Doesn't make you right, no, but I don't know.
No. But now saying you can sway a communist to become because of their ideological consistency is almost no, because they're being consistent. It's going to be even harder to make them change every belief that they're consistently carrying. That seems like it would be a pretty tall order.
Well, Jacob says here, maybe not preposterous, but it could happen. Like, yeah, sure, I could convince Mahatma Gandhi to, become a Nazi if I was persuasive
John
enough.
Spartans here.
But I definitely am. I'm skeptical. Rand isn't consistent. See, the second I said that, I knew someone was going to say that. I was just trying to think of a popular figure. There's no popular figure that's consistent. Literally, the second the words
Ron.
came out of my mouth, I was like, "Well, see, but Ron, is Ron even consistent? We talked about this last night."
Even Saturday Night Live said he was ideologically consistent and hard as nails. It was that sketch where he was trying to get to the debates, but somebody caught him in the parking garage and threw him into a van. I love that sketch so much. Yeah, it was back during the Ron Paul day. They actually gave him some screen time, and they like pull up. They show like the camera from the garage, and they pull up in the van, and they drag him in the van. And you hear like a confrontation, a couple gunfires, and then Ron jumps back out, comes back up to the
I
debate.
don't remember that. Oh my gosh.
I have to watch that one.
Oh, I wonder if you can even find it now. But
we'll
yeah,
have to try to find
that was
it.
my favorite. Like they pull him into the van. There's like bang, bang, and he comes popping out, straightens out his tie.
Oh man. So I say this. I've said this many times in multiple episodes, but Siren here says voluntarism allows for small pods of it, which would be communism, but is not sustainable beyond small groups without force. So I've always said that in anarcho-capitalism,
A couple families coming together.
if you want to start your anarcho-communist township, then go for it. You can't have Marxist communism in Ancapistan because that requires violation of the NAP, which means that you're going to get your NAPs violated for violating people's NAPs. But you can have pods of anarcho-communist societies, and they will probably all wither away and die, and then they'll become anarcho-capitalist townships. So that's fine, you know. And then we'll be done with this problem for mostly good.
Right.
Yeah, that's always been me. It's like we need a lot of little experiments. This whole centralized one big giant social experiment of central government is just dangerous because then we all fail together. Whereas if we had little communities doing their own little experiments, we can find out real quick what works and what doesn't work. And eventually we may come to one not centralized, but basically a consensus that leaving people alone and letting them deal in their own way with each other freely is the best way to go. And that's just what it'll be. But until then, let everybody do their experiments.
Yeah.
Stop forcing this one big ideal on everybody.
Yeah, and you know, I was given the challenge of like, oh, well, what if a township builds a road and then they close it off to everyone else so that you can't use that road? And I'm like, well, it's gonna really suck when they don't have any travelers into their city to keep it going. And the city dies.
Good luck with your own.
Yeah.
Have fun being self-sustaining. I'm sure that'll work in this service-based economy.
The Erie's big for that. Like we're all hotels and restaurants. Like if we were to close off our roads to the three major cities around us, we have nothing left. We have a couple shops, and we would fail immediately. Everybody's like, "Oh, we're just opening a hotel, another service job," and I'm like, "Well, that's what we are."
I think freedom of travel is beneficial to everyone. So I always get this like, "Oh, well, you know, what if I put a toll road up on the road that I build?" And I'm like, "Well, no one's going to use your fucking road. That's what's going to happen."
You're going to want to get on the payment plan that the other big roads are using and get your royalty fees off of that. That's what I see. There'll be big businesses. There'll be like, you know, there's always like the Amazons and Googles
Easy
and
Tag
stuff
is
like
primed
that.
to go. You know, they've already got a system built up.
So it's like I have a road. I'm gonna plug into the Easy Tag system, and they're gonna hit me with my royalties, and they can travel on my road. It's like
yeah.
As long as my road is well kept, and they want it to be in their system.
I don't see any reason. And you know, also I'm a big fan of free travel. So if, you know, I paid for the fixing of a road or something, I'm not going to block that road off to other people. I would appreciate it if they kept my road, you know, well treated, you know, but please don't drive your tank on my road, you know, stuff like that. But
we do have some rules. No rules. Off my, you're going to get your license revoked. You're not going to be allowed on any of these roads. Are you open borders then?
In Ancapistan, yes. I'm not for opening the borders right now. That's a really bad idea. The welfare state would, you know, it's a collapsitarian idea. If right now, but I'm not a wall, if that's what you're asking.
Now, we kind of discussed this last night with
can I have that bottle?
with Trisha. She's like, is the welfare state going to shrink at all if we close the borders?
No, it's not. But
Completely?
we have to shrink the welfare state before we open the borders. Unless you want to do the collapsitarian approach and you want to overload the welfare state until the point it's unsustainable and we roll it back. That's another way. It's a strategy of doing it. I don't think it's going to be a very successful one, or at least a very easy.
I like the old school version of like, yeah, come on over and carve out a life for yourself, and if you fail, you fail.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Like you better be ready to offer something that somebody wants.
Whether it be
Offer
cheap
something that somebody
labor
wants.
or
Yeah.
whatever it is,
Right.
you know?
Or some good cheese or something.
Avocados.
You gotta we got the open market for it here.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
that'd be beautiful. I want to watch Gangs of New York again.
Oh, that was
That
a
was an
while
awesome
ago. Where were
movie.
you seeing that?
No, it just popped in my
Oh,
head.
okay.
It reminds me of the old days. Was a little bit more open, even though you did have to go through Alice Island. It seemed like, come on in and set up shop, and but it didn't seem like people were coming here like, I'm going to dial into the welfare system, and I'm going to get my food bought for me, and I'm going to get my cable done, and
Right. They came here to
for that
work,
opportunity.
for that opportunity that I can make something for my family and work my ass off
Yeah.
and
And
not just
I mean, I can understand the argument that, you know, like it needs to be easier to get in the country and to leave it. I think, you know, honestly, I
Mhm.
mean, kind of annoyed with the passport system right now. Because, you know, international travel is just ridiculous. But
We haven't done it in so long.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's a nightmare, especially if you lose your passport. It's a total nightmare. First time I've
couldn't
interacted with
imagine.
cops
Oh
in a
my
long
gosh.
time.
Ugh,
Wow.
But-
fuck your citizenship.
That's
Yeah,
scary.
exactly.
That's really scary.
You don't have your papers.
Mhm.
It's so yeah, that's always fun. But what I was getting at is that, you know, I can understand, you know, again, if we have the state as it exists now, we can't just like open the board. But you know, it should be easier. It should be like, okay, are you dying of, you know, anthrax? Okay, no. Are you like, you know, are you loaded up with like RPGs and, you know,
Do
C4?
you have tattoos on your face?
Do you have tattoos on your
See, that's the kind of stuff where it's like, okay. And then if someone does a crime, I think in America, honestly,
GTFO?
yeah. Well, you can either extradite them, which is an extremely expensive process, back to their own country or deport them, or you could just deal with them here. And I mean, just depending on how the justice system works out in this
Yeah,
fiction.
Oh,
welcome
sure.
to our legal system.
Yeah.
You're
here now. So
Might not be no Mexican justice system. It
You
still ain't
wanted
nice,
yeah.
from what I hear.
It's
What did we-
that's not a very feasible option just because of how expensive it would be. Assuming, you know, most of these people are going to be peaceful, but you know, there's always bad eggs.
Yeah.
And you're just adding to
Sure.
the justice system.
You're doing the
Yeah.
opposite of the Trump. Some of them, I assume, are good people. Some of them. Why don't we be a little more optimistic about
Yeah. Why? Yeah.
that? Some of them might be bad people. That's fine. Yeah,
there
I
might
understand.
be a couple bad apples. Let's not look at it like the whole bushel is wrecked.
I don't enjoy the elitist attitude of like, oh, we Americans are so much better than these filthy
We were
Mexicans.
born here.
Oh,
I was born in these
yeah.
imaginary. Brother, come at me with that.
I don't really appreciate that. I think an American has just as much as a capacity to do evil as anybody else on planet
For
Earth.
sure.
So,
Yeah, we've proven that time and again.
oh yeah,
We're human.
Oh yeah, we have. Every day we prove it. We've talked about multiple instances of it just on this show. So I mean,
Mhm.
it's just part of the deal. And you know, stuff like face tattoos. I think it's ridiculous that they have to exploit the asylum system to get in. It just makes everything harder for everybody. You should just be able to get in. That's pretty much it. It would be nice if Mexico would like share some of like the criminal justice information that they have, I guess, in the
Oh, yeah.
time being. I guess,
Like to see their record.
maybe, I guess, because I mean,
Yeah, that's reasonable.
if we're, I mean, again, I'm spitballing here. None of this is optimal, but if we're looking at trying to make the system better, I suppose, fewest steps as possible, while trying not to let like the worst people in. I can understand. I get it. You don't want to let, like, if Ted Bundy wanted to go to Mexico tomorrow, I would assume Mexico would tell him no, even if all of his papers were in
Right.
order. You know, it's like you
We're in
might
order.
you might
He
not
doesn't
be-
even have face tattoo.
Yeah, exactly, right? So you may not be the best person for our society, and I get that. Just like a township should have the right to reject someone who wants to move in there. If I come in and you know, I'm trying to like, I don't know what caused me to get kicked out of a township, but if I, you know, applied to get into a township and they said, you know, all this is total wackery and we're not gonna let you in here, like they should have every right to do so. So maybe that would be your problem, is that you'd get into the country and then you wouldn't be able to find a township you could stay in, and you just have to try to buy a piece of land or something. I don't know. At that point, you're kind of on your own. So
yeah, definitely. Dave's using the facilities. Look he went upstairs for your show. Isn't that nice?
Yeah. Culture, language, and borders. It's a simple concept, you libtards. Okay. Cool
Thanks, Sean Spartan.
Cool story, bro. You should add dragons next time.
So Dave and I watched this thing on. We get into oh boy, we're not like BuzzFeed like fanatics, but the guys that do true crime or unsolved kind of things. I don't know if you've ever watched them or not, but they're pretty fun. Or supernatural things. They're hilarious. But so they do like these unsolved mysteries, I guess. And they were talking about this thing that happened in Iceland. Oh boy, it was in the 70s, I believe. And because the whole like crime rate, and I'm talking about the Iceland thing, Dave, the whole crime rate in Iceland was so low, you know, and even still, I guess, apparently the one guy went there and everyone's like, yeah, we do like a murder. Like we do murder. But back in the 70s, there was this thing that happened. Okay. Somebody disappeared. And then like a couple months later, someone else disappeared. And so the cops were like, okay, well, people want answers, so we got to hurry up and give them answers. So they take this couple, like, and they talk to them individually, put them in solitary confinement for weeks until they finally confess to whatever it is that, you know, this one crime.
Some of them ended up spending years in solitary confinement.
So they kind of confessed to this, like they confessed to this one crime. But then the cops are like, well, hey, just out of curiosity, like, did you ever see this guy before? Or do you think that the people you might know might have done this crime? And the woman's like, I don't know, maybe. And they're like, back to the cell with you.
back to solitary till you figure this out.
So they shove her back in there for like a month. And then finally, and also they had him acting
out the crimes. Like okay, if it were to happen, this is how it happened. Like they're like really fucking these people up psychologically.
Big time.
Like they're having them act out the crimes. They're like making them doubt their own memories and everything until
questioning them for like 10 hours a day.
Either they're convincing them that they actually committed the crimes, or just getting them to the point where like, I'll admit to anything. Just get me out of this freaking cage.
Please stop this. Yeah.
Like over like years of solitary confinement.
Yeah. I mean, I think the one guy, so they ended up saying like a couple names of friends or something. So then those people got shoved into solitary confinement. And I think the one guy spent 740 some days in solitary. Like I would lose my mind. I would go crazy. And that's what happened though, is like that they actually did like go like kind of crazy in a way that they were signing
like, maybe I did that,
and that's what they were saying was like, well, maybe I did, and so they would sign it and they're like, I don't remember exactly, but that sounds like it could have happened. I believe you that you say that I did this, and signing confessions and stuff like that. And so this is years later that somebody came in and talked about the effects of what solitary confinement and all that kind of like
exactly what they were doing
does to a person. Oh yeah. And so it's several of them, well, a couple of them had already passed away, but a couple had been released, and then there was like one or two more that were still like having to fight for their freedom. But I was just blown away that these police officers just thought,
hey, this is working.
So we're going to do this.
We're getting answers.
We're getting answers, and that's what the public wants. is answers. And I think that happens a lot here too, though. I mean, maybe not necessarily in that fashion, but people just want to close the case. Give me an answer. I don't care if it's right or wrong. Just close the case. But I felt so sad, like thinking about these people. I would go nutso in solitary. I would go, give me 3 days, I'd be dead.
Whatever you want me to sign.
Yeah.
I'd be cool with it.
The Saudis still, it's illegal, but they still do it. They still torture people for confessions in their police system. We still beat people. It happens all. How many videos have you seen of cops asking people questions and they slap them across the face? They sock them in the face or something, or punch them in the gut, and then they're like, "Okay, what's your answer now?" Oh, yeah. Wham. Yeah. Okay, what's your answer now?
Yeah.
Wham.
What's your answer now?
It's like Jesus, man. Like, how are you supposed
to put up with that? You're not getting a real answer. You're getting what you want to hear by beating a person, another human, you know? Yeah. I don't know. That just blew my mind, though, when I was... What are you smiling at, Dave?
I just think sometimes we rotate in tandem.
Oh, I'm sorry. Like, yeah, we got these... but yeah, that blew my mind. That really did.
Yeah, those are fun. Those
are fun.
BuzzFeed Blue Unsolved. Even though they're super like beta males, but it's entertaining.
It's entertaining, yeah. Boy, I washed out.
I used to follow some of those things back when I was like, I need to diversify my portfolio as much as possible, and I was like BuzzFeed and HuffPost, and you know, like now.
The only reason they do those basically those Ghostbuster things, those not Mythbusters, Ghostbusters, but you know, where like they'll go to the haunted house and they'll spend the night there, and they got the little tools and stuff. Yeah. But they're not trying to be professional at all.
Oh no. The one guy, like he goes in there and he's just like, "Come at me." You know, like talking to the whatever spirits that are there, you know, and he's like, yeah, he's all
but it's very entertaining.
It's fun. But then the other guy is scared to death. So he's like shaking, you know.
I'll find it because they are good. If BuzzFeed ever did anything good, this is it.
Yeah. And we watch some of the BuzzFeed things that are like
some of their skits are funny, like the women's winter one. That one's pretty funny. I always laugh at that. Or
try this and stuff like that.
The drinking one. I like the one where
the Irish people try American.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Disgusted.
Those
but I also
fine.
love listening to their accents. Yeah.
The news.
I know. I don't. That's what I don't follow that part. Yeah, the news, quote unquote, and the HuffPost and stuff like. Yeah, I don't. I mean, sometimes there'll be like a funny parenting article or something that somebody shares from like Scary Mom or whatever. Like she does funny stuff, but just as a mom, like, oh yes, relatable. I can feel your pain, you know. But I don't enjoy a lot of the things that they put up. Dave's gonna find this and link it.
Oh, you're fine. Go for it. I think probably the person who pisses me off the most out of all of these people is that what's his name? Uger, the guy who does the
This Week on BuzzFeed.
The Young Turks.
Oh, that was Dave. Sorry.
Yeah,
so Cenk Uger's nephew, I guess, he got his little skit that he does on the internet now, and he just talks about things that are just, you know, maybe this is too much of an asshole statement from me, but he just talks about things that are just obviously way over his head. And he's like, this is what the paper tells me to tell you, and I'm related to a guy that people like, so I'm just gonna do this, and I'm gonna be like,
this.
You guys are evil human beings, and you know, he's like one of the worst as far as talking about how just like these people are despicable if they feel this way. And I'm like, oh, so I'm like an evil human being because I like my guns. Okay, whatever then. I guess I'm an evil human being to you. We are enemies now. Yeah. Congratulations.
I'd like to defend myself.
Yeah. How about those people that try shooting for the first time and they're like, I have PTSD.
Yeah, PTSD.
And then smell the gunpowder. Break to the clip of the 10-year-old girl. This is fun.
I love that. She took out all them targets. That's what I don't.
You know what? Not everyone should own guns, but everyone should have the right. You know.
Right, exactly. It might not be for you, but why are you telling me I cannot?
Oh, what if I was thinking about that? I think the other day, like, what if you're in any situation where suddenly a bad guy shows up with a gun and you're not allowed to have one, you don't have one. It's like, I want to have that ability to defend myself. in any situation.
Yeah.
How can you take away that right for me to defend myself when the technology exists? You can make anything you want illegal or whatever, but you can't uninvent projectiles coming out of a handheld device. It's like you can't undo that, so somebody's going to have that. Don't take that from me because I want to obey the law.
Am I going to set a cannon at my front door or something? Like, do I need to get my muskets ready? What is this?
The
musket and flintlock. Like, seriously, that stupid commercial too. That was, I think, I don't know if it was like an actual commercial or from Now This, but where the guy walks into the office and shoots someone with the musket and loads it up, and everyone like runs away. Like, cool.
Oh my gosh,
because
cool.
we'd advanced beyond muskets.
Yeah,
it doesn't make that not be a thing anymore, and the bad guy.
It's just a great example of why I don't need a musket, you know?
Right.
Hold on, let me reload.
Yeah.
Oh, I
pause.
missed.
Everybody pause. I missed.
Time out.
Hold on. Well, you're going to get it.
Time out.
Red light. Yeah.
Red light.
Well, you're going to get
It's coming for you this time. Damn it, the wind caught it. Let me get my flintlock. Oh, the charge is wet.
I didn't have a rifled barrel.
The smithy couldn't rifle it.
I have tears coming out of my eyeballs.
Yeah, tell him what he's doing is illegal. That's what you got to do. Tell him he's breaking the law. Hey, you can't.
My bad.
Oh,
set this down.
It's like, God, dang it, man! I thought that was legal. I'm so sorry.
No, murder's illegal now.
Yeah.
Did I miss that?
What?
Trump's making some big changes. You know, it's like,
Thanks a lot, Trump.
Trump's making some big changes.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh.
That's what I'm gonna do.
So what happens, like, okay, so I go to places where it's like, this is a gun-free zone,
Yeah.
Like,
I'm pretty sure the library has that sign.
Most people just carry their guns in them. I'm going to be completely transparent. You probably shouldn't, honestly, because if someone sees it, that's going to be a big no.
Oh, it's going to be a big problem.
It's better to ask forgiveness than permission.
Yeah.
Most of the
I guess permission was already denied.
I didn't see the sign. Most people...
It's a little sign.
I can't read. I'm at the library.
I've had this conversation with a few gun owners who conceal carry. And
lucky for me, I can't read.
They carry it everywhere with them. I know one of them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm not going to say names, but you're not supposed to carry with like a side holster, right? But he wears a lot of like suits and coats and stuff like that. So it's the most accessible way. So yeah, he wears a side holster, right? And it's like I asked him, I was like, what happens if you use that and then someone finds you concealed carrying in a side holster? And he's like, well, I'm not dead. And I was like, oh. Well, that's a good point. I mean, well, when you put it that way,
we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Because, okay, first of all, why is the guy going to use it? It's going to be probably if someone comes in and starts shooting up the place, and then he kills the crazy maniac guy who's shooting up the place. So
yeah.
How are they going to feel about that?
He who shall not be named carries at work, and he just doesn't care. He's like, I'm not going to die to somebody with a gun going on my lunch break. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's like, hey man, if that's how you want to do it, by all means. I have no issues with it. So I mean,
because I see those signs and I think like, oh, that's just, we're sitting ducks in this place, where we're not allowed to defend ourselves. Oh, we can't carry. You can't.
Law-abiding citizens aren't allowed to carry in here.
Yeah, the guy that's going to come in and shoot up the place doesn't give a shit what your sign says. He's not a law-abiding citizen. The laws do not matter to him. Well, I kind of wanted to ask your opinion on another thing that's very controversial. Big A.
Oh.
I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Yeah,
abortion. So,
but I'm curious on your opinion of that and the whole like mom, human, but then the baby, a human.
Oh, this is actually good because I missed a comment from a long time ago that John left so you guys can help remind me about circumcision too. And you guys have kids, so I'd like to talk to you about that after this. But so since you asked me the question, I'll go first gladly. I've said, and this is something that's evolving for me. Like when I started this show to now, I've even changed I wouldn't say a massive amount, but I'm always, I don't think I necessarily have the right answer, but I'm always trying to look for it. And, so I'm not a very religious person, so I don't really have the whole spiritual aspect side of things, which automatically makes some arguments not very effective. But,
okay.
So for me, I have an extremely hard time, just as a rational person, equating a zygote as being analogous with a human being. That is just, there's a bridge there that I don't know how to cross. And I would love to find a way to rationalize through that. But I do think that there are distinctions that you can make across the process of a developing fetus that, like these like fourth term abortions, like people are terming them, like that's wrong. That's wrong.
Yeah.
That's a fully deliverable fetus. Like you have absolutely no right to abort it at that point. Even things like second term, like you start getting into some very like sketchy, like this is you pretty much got a human here. Like everything's there that needs to be there. And so what I usually go on is like I don't think they should be state subsidized. I don't think people's money should be going into something that they very likely based off of
poor.
Yeah.
That's not right. Just like I wouldn't ask for someone who's anti-vax to pay for my vaccines. I'm not going to ask for someone who's anti-abortion to pay for an abortion. There's a lot of different perspectives to look at it. Sometimes you have to, some of them are kind of emotionally detached. Like it's called the zero sum methodology of looking at it, is like if Sherry gets pregnant and has an abortion, within the first couple of weeks, what has been lost is the question that's asked. And so obviously there's the spiritual perspective of like that was already a human life, but if you look at it just logically and you have this, you catch it early and Sherry goes off and has an abortion and it's consented to on both sides of the relationship, it's like I hate using this word, I just don't know how else to describe it. Like I have a hard time saying that like you killed a human. I have a hard time saying that. Is more analogous to a clump of cells than it is a human. And I'm not trying to dehumanize fetuses by any situation. There are definitely, there's somewhere I haven't quite found yet. There's a line that is crossed. It's there. Like you can see it before and after, but I just don't know exactly where that line is. So I don't like them. I couldn't do one. I don't know if I could live with myself in doing one just because of how I view life. But at the same time, I don't know if I could say, like, oh, you caught your pregnancy at like 8 weeks, 9 weeks, something like that. I don't know if I could say like you can't do that.
Looking for the line where it becomes murder.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
And that's the hardest thing because like in a lot of these things, it's like you get these gray areas, and then who determines what that line is? So, like I said, in Capistan, how do you handle the murder of somebody that nobody cares about, that there's nobody seeking retribution for their murder? So that's the only way I get in a problem, because I do not want any kind of government intervention in any kind of, there's no centralized power. Now there might be a cultural pressure depending on where you live and stuff like that. Like I believe, conception is the human. So, because I don't want to draw a line like this is where the line is, and obviously, everybody's like, okay, you got a vat full 2-week-old, fetuses or whatever, and then you have a one baby, and you got that train on the 2 tracks. Which one do you send it towards? Yeah, it's like obviously. You got that baby there. You got a bunch of frozen embryos, and you have the baby.
Yeah.
Which one's more murder? So, that one's hard to answer.
It is hard,
but I know people do have answers for that. I think it's wrong, but again, it's hard to say who's going to enforce this wrongness of it. So I'll just put my line there. I think it's wrong, but I don't want to see somebody, stormtroopers coming in, knocking down Sarah's door. Because she had an abortion at 1 week.
Or Sherry. What do we say that?
Pick a random name. These are all random names.
Exactly. Yeah. This is no
Sherry
person
voluntary at all.
I just picked some random person I
Yes.
usually say
I can't
Susie
remember.
or something like that. Whoever or Becky.
Susan,
That's what
yeah.
I usually say. I say Becky.
Becky. All right, Becky.
Nobody's named Becky anymore.
Yeah. But
There's no Becky here.
that's another thing too. You hit on a great point. Is it I look at everything from the perspective of Ancapistan, and it's like like the grandfather of the fetus go in and like, oh, you nap violated him, bang. Like what do you seek compensation for? How do you compensate that if you believe that you've been wronged a grandchild or something? Does the community have the right? Like what reparations do they have to seek? Have they lost anything? Where does the nap fall there? It's like, this is a big gray area, which is why typically I just lean on the side of don't tell me you had an abortion. If you're thinking about it, don't even tell me you're pregnant.
Don't advertise it.
Yeah.
And just like,
because we're also Christians, and a sin is a sin, so it's hard to like judge one more of the other. I mean, obviously, it feels like murder would be a bigger sin than stealing a pack of gum.
Yeah, but in the eyes of God,
yeah, sin is a sin.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I feel like a sin is a sin, no matter how small or big. I mean, it's
but we're
just,
going into the spiritual aspect of.
No, I mean, but that's
for me.
You guys,
but that works into the
Yeah,
the
you guys
equation.
have that as an anchor, and I mean, I'm not knocking on what you guys believe by any means. It's just the perspective from which I approach the topic is just a different angle. It makes it harder too. I mean, trying to figure out natural rights, like that was a battle for quite a few months.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So, yeah.
A lot of people say your rights is whatever you can defend.
Yeah,
that seems pretty natural in the animal kingdom.
And I'm not gonna lie,
you have a right to life.
it is easier to. I mean, I'm not to suggest it's like a cop out or anything, but it is easier to be able to have the foundation to say like my rights are ordained by God. That is so much easier than having to try to like parse through the human condition and figure out like what you as a human being are like ordained based off of like it's. Ordained is the wrong word, but it's a nightmare, and trust me, it doesn't make things easy. But and so Siren said something that I want to talk about that I think is deserves an answer, or at least
we lost
considering. It's up here. It says if you don't kill it, it becomes a person, right? And you're completely right. You are completely right. It is
usually
well. Yeah. Well, as long as nothing interferes with the process. If the process goes from start to finish, you start with the zygote, you get the human being. I just it's like I can't really think of a good analogy. I'm going to use a bad one, but maybe you'll understand where I'm coming from. It's like, okay, well, a diamond starts out as carbon, right? And it's like, well, if I burn my charcoal, am I burning a diamond? Like, should I be selling this like a pawn shop or something and be like, oh, this is going to be a diamond one day? It's like, well, it's not now. Does its state of eventuality matter as much as its state of being? You know what I'm trying to say?
I do. I know exactly what you're saying.
But not all charcoal becomes a diamond.
Yeah.
That was a bad example. It was a very bad example.
No, it was good. It was good. It was perfect because I feel that way. Like, I mean, oh boy, did I hurt you?
No, I'm doing comments.
Oh, sorry.
F.
When I, it's like when I think of like the whole process of it and the baby, like, well, I call it a baby, but like
it's
I call it a baby
term,
attaching. Attaching. So the sperm met the egg, and then so now it's got to go attach to my uterus. So, but I feel like because it met, I don't know. I just feel like there's a reason, but I think that's for my faith. Like that, I feel like. So it attached, or it met, and then it attached, and then I'm not supposed to interfere with that, like whatever is. So I don't know. It's like, but that's how I feel, and I can't help that. And I'm not judging anyone for anything that they feel. So
I think the biggest thing is that I don't like gray areas, and I don't like people certain people determining what that line is. But for
me personally, that's where I feel like there's even like a morning after pill, I'm like, that's fucking with what's supposed to be. Like if those two things already met, and then and it's going to go attach itself and become a person. Like, I just feel like, what am I don't know. But okay, so that's how I feel, but I'm not judging anyone.
No, I mean,
Judging anybody.
You know, I think you can dissect an argument without judging a person. And so, I mean,
and that's what we're doing. I think we're doing a good job of it.
And that's really nice. Thank you, by the way, because that's super nice, because abortion arguments get crazy, really crazy. And like, I've avoided it for a long, long time because I did.
But you can see why it can, especially, I'm going to say, especially from the pro-life outlook, is because you're murdering a baby. Like, how can you, if you truly believe that these people are going and murdering babies, how can you, what is an overreaction to that?
Yeah, exactly. Right?
You know what
I mean? For me personally, that's where my line is, but for other people, the line might be further down.
So
but
we try to be a little,
when people are like, oh, I'm gonna birth this child at 8 months, and then, but we're gonna suck its brains out with a vacuum because I don't want it. It's like, you gave birth to a fucking person.
Yeah.
Like, you basically gave birth, like, the head is still like in, and so that freaks me out.
And John kind of, I was about to go into this, but just kind of sort of reiterate what you said already, David, but it devolves into big government solutions because people do get very impassioned. And I no matter how I personally feel, like I said, I don't think I could do it. Like, unless I just legitimately believed I was in such a situation that this child would have a miserable entirety of existence, which that would have to, I don't think I could even come close to justifying doing it. But that's me. And how am I supposed to project that onto somebody else? I'm not going to do meth either. Meth's horrible. Meth will kill you. But I'm not going to project that onto somebody else. And you can argue that there's like the voluntary thing there, and then you get into the whole argument of agency and how a fetus lacks agency, or a baby even in the womb, it's a non-agent is what the term that's used. So it's and then you get into like, again, people give the arguments devaluing a human life, and then we reach nowhere. And so I the easiest argument for me to make is that it's not my life, and if I ever come into that situation, and I'm going to have to consult the NAP. And if whatever the NAP says, I'm going to have to think about it, and then I'll act off of that. And I don't think it's going to lead to I don't think I could justify shooting someone based off of an abortion. I don't think I could. I don't think that's a reasonable response.
Oh,
but maybe if your entire, you get your little council of people together in your township and you come to the conclusion that the NAP has said that extradition from the community is the most appropriate response for the abortion. If that's a township and you agreed to that, I mean, I can't say that that's wrong either, or if you ban abortion in your township and someone signs that and gets an abortion and then gets kicked out, like, that's a completely justifiable reaction to that,
Right.
And
that's what makes it so difficult, is applying libertarian ideals to this question, because it's easy as the left and right, or to be a neocon. It's super simple. You're murdering a baby, there should be a law. That's easy to say. But now we're in this area where we're saying, like, but how do we handle our beliefs on this super touchy situation that in a way that doesn't require government force?
Everyone has their own belief on when does life actually start, like, and you can't like,
and that's the biggest thing. That's where all the argument is.
I can't. Yeah, exactly. I can't force my belief onto somebody else.
But I'm going to believe the shit out of it.
But I'm going to believe the thing that I believe. But I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to sit back and like.
I'll judge a little bit.
I mean, you have a right
I want to leave all that to. I want to leave that to God, the judging. Like because I don't want to be judged for my little stupid shit that I do. I drink too much and stay too late.
But it isn't little stupid shit if you believe you're killing a baby.
Yeah.
That's
So I mean
that's where you're at. Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about, for me. Okay, so I did a thing when I was in 11th grade. It was no. I did
Where are we going
no. It was a psychology class, and we were supposed to pick a topic, and I decided to pick abortion, and I had didn't know. I had no idea. Like, my friend picked euthanasia, so whatever.
That's another fun.
But I really had no clue what I was getting into. Like I had no idea.
No, yeah, euthanasia is way easier than abortion.
Yeah,
But-
it is. I think so.
When I learned, I talked to women who had abortions. And I,
Wow.
this was like this is like pre-internet because it was 97. But I mean, I saw pictures of the, like little pamphlet things, and people talked about it, and I went to places where I could learn more and, kind of see both sides, but I could not get past the fact that was a little baby. That pile that they threw in the trash was a baby.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just could not and then I think it was like Clinton was around at that point and was trying to do the partial birth abortion thing, and I just like flipped my lid. And I have really, really avoided talking about it a lot.
That's it.
Since I did that, it was like, whew, I can't even.
I think it's important to challenge the ideas that you have and listen to what other people have to say. Because, I mean, the worst thing you have to lose is a bad idea. That's what I usually say. So it's, so we can talk about this for a minute. I think this is just another example of a perfect gray area. But one of the justifications that I use for my early term abortion, I don't want to say justification, but I guess understanding or something, is that you have the issue of the 1 in a billion chance that your contraceptive causes a miscarriage or doesn't allow a fertilized egg to attach. And so and I can't argue from this angle, but when I was spiritual and I was against abortion, I was also against contraceptives, which makes me have to look at this now from the perspective of what I used to believe.
Oh,
because
yeah.
I said that if that egg is fertilized, it is a human being. And if anything interferes with that and it gets rid of it, God has given this thing life. He's said you are going to be alive. And then if your pill gets in the way of that, like you're murdering a human being. And now I have to step back and say, okay, birth control has to be a thing. And first off, you're never going to know if that 1 in a billion did happen. If you fertilized an egg, they got through and it didn't attach to the uterine wall or something like that.
Yeah.
You're never going to know, first off. And then you have stuff like the morning after pill. I mean,
You're taking it not even knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, do you just have to do an investigation on everybody that's taking the morning after pill? Like, what do you take them to the gyno and be like, maybe, I don't know, like possibly aborted someone. Yeah. Ostracized, I mean, like,
oh yeah, okay, I see that.
It's
yeah.
We
Okay,
all have our lines.
Yeah.
Like even us saying like conception is birth. It's like, but that's the line we chose. I guess you know what I mean.
I can't. Yeah, I mean, exactly, right? Exactly. Just that alone, because if you take the black and white stance, if there's any chance that you interfere with it, no matter how slim, can you ethically take that risk?
Shit is pulling out.
Well, yeah, I mean that's like according to Catholics, you're supposed to only like you
have sex to make
you
a
have
baby.
Sex. Well, also no.
Okay, I don't know the deal.
When you're fertile, like you do you take your temperature
rhythm.
and you do the thing. No, that you take your temperature and you know that this is the time, so that if you're not trying to have a baby, then it's not the time to be. Whatever. So can I ask?
Accurate though, but go for it.
Oh, it's not. Yeah. Absolutely not. I think nothing except not having sex is 100% accurate.
Yeah.
Can I ask you? And feel free. This is your show, and even if it wasn't, just say no. But what changed your mind?
On
how did you go from you were
contraception is bad.
Yeah, you were saying like, okay, this egg is fertilized, this is baby, and now we're thinking about where is that.
It seems like you lost your faith.
Yeah, I did. I lost my faith, and I lost my only justification I had from that perspective. Like that's what I had always said, and so I had to reevaluate everything. And back then I was like, well, what does the Constitution say? And I was like, that's my only other frame of reference. And so I just kind of put it on the back burner because I didn't like anything that I was coming up with. It's like I either had to make up a distinction to me, or I had, and a lot of people say, well, even science is behind it. Life begins at conception. That's great. Just I've said this before. It's a logical fallacy just to say that science man says X is a logical fallacy. That
Well,
is.
science is another religion.
Yeah, and I mean,
You read the books, you don't question it.
Yeah.
most scientists are great. And I'm not saying that anybody who says that life at conception is a thing is not a great scientist. 99% of scientists can
sure.
approve this brand of toothpaste. I may find one that's better. You know, I just, it's,
9 out of 10 dentists agree.
yeah, exactly. It's like, I can't remember. I think it's an argument from authority is the name of it. It's a logical fallacy. It is like, and I know it's our tendency is to go to people who we deem as more professional or more qualified to go into topics and stuff like this. But, you know, I mean, whenever I just hear like, oh, it begins at conception because the egg hits the sperm and then life. And that doesn't solve my issue. Like my issue isn't like, yes, we have a fertilized zygote that will become a human. I don't have an issue there. I can make that. That's not a problem for me.
Yeah.
My problem is equating the beginning to the end. Because that's what you have to do to say life at conception means no abortion, is you have to say at the beginning, it has the exact same value or
chance of
as the end. And I think that there's so much different between your first division when you're two you're gendered at that point.
Yeah.
And when you were at the very end. And that is what I have to figure out. And it's going to take me a long time. But
Yeah.
So, and maybe I won't ever find
really-
the answer, honestly. Maybe there isn't a good answer from my perspective at this. And then what I'm going to have to do is, like I said, I'm going to have to just evaluate situations as they come and not participate in it and do my best to not judge others for doing so. And that's really all I can do, because I don't have a black and white answer that I can sit down and be like, yep, this is the line. This is why.
Mhm.
I just have a bunch of peripheral information that is all that I can base everything I have on. And I completely understand every argument that gets thrown at me and at other people. I've seen them all at this point. You know, abortion argument's been around for a long time.
You put the posts out there. I've seen them. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah. And you know, like I said,
Hold on.
I've changed since then too. You know, when I first came to libertarianism, I was like, all abortions should be okay, no matter what. You want to have 80, have 80. Obviously, that's changed a lot since then. I was very misguided in that, and you know, that was like I can't tell anybody what to do, so just do whatever. And that obviously is not the right answer. I've accepted that at this point, and you know, I can't retract things that I've said, but I can do my best to learn and grow from my.
I want to just say, I thank you for talking with us about this. I know it's like a touchy subject for everybody. I honestly avoid it at all costs. I do not even like to talk about it, but I just felt like I wanted to bring it up. But when you said like we can discuss and talk about things, like it's so nice because
you got to treat it like 9/11.
It's usually turns. Anytime I've ever had, and I've avoided it at all costs. Anytime I see a post about it, I'm like, not touching that, because that takes too much of my energy. I can't do that. But that you said that we could discuss it, that we could talk about it. Like, and you have you have your opinion, and we have our opinion, or everyone else in the comments, whoever has whatever they want to think about it. But just that we can be adults and say like, this is something that's going on. I really appreciate that shit. Thank you so much.
It's what I made the show for. I mean, no kidding.
It's like, I'm really just happy that we could listen to each other and see where we're coming from. Like everyone's line is in a different place, and that's okay.
It's true. Like even everybody, you got to recognize your line, because everybody's drawn lines, even though you feel like your line is the line.
I'm happy to hear, and I'm just really grateful. Thank you for that. I mean, that was a very nice discussion.
Are you looking at Sirens' comment there?
I do want to get to this. I do want to say one more thing though. I think it's important to realize that in Ancapistan, there are going to be a lot of different lines. Even from nap violation to nap violation. The way you respond to a nap violation.
The nap is very gray itself.
Yes.
The nap is gray. Yes.
That's part of freedom, is not having these black and white.
Except for the real libertarians that know that it's black and white.
Oh, the real libertarians.
I think
they know where that line is.
There are a lot of cases where the nap is like super black and white. Like, yes, you violated the nap. Okay, but then what's a reasonable response? Oh, well, now you're getting a whole different debate. Like if someone comes swinging at you, can you blow them away with your fully automatic shotgun?
Recreational McNukes, here we come.
Exactly.
Incoming.
I don't think that's a I know that's hyperbolic for
Your
reason,
dander landed in my lawn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You could say that there was that old man who shot that puppy in his lawn, and he had every right to say, "Oh, it violated my property rights because I didn't give him permission to come onto my property." And then shooting the child's dog, a justifiable response to that nap violation? No, telling them to go away is. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you're not a psychopath.
Yeah.
Obviously.
We had a psycho neighbor like that when we lived downtown.
Yeah.
We had this guy who
peed
lived
on
two
the
houses
public
down.
property between the sidewalk and the street. And he's screaming at us.
Our dog always wanted to go
right in the trouble spot.
Right to the trouble spot. And I was just like, okay, whatever. Like, he wants to pee on this pole, like that's between the street and the sidewalk. So,
which is technically
on the
state
pole.
land or whatever, city land.
So, but this guy, every time I'd walk my dog, he would come out and just be like, "Don't let him pee on my lawn." And I'm like, now I have to bring my dog this way every time. Damn it. Why do you have to be such an asshole? Like, it didn't matter which way we went. He could have we could have gone to the left.
He'll save some for
that pole. So we would come back that way, and he'd still try to pee. Any little teeny drop he had left, he'd pee on that pole. A guy'd come out. "I'm going to poison your dog. You can't do this. He's peeing on my lawn. I told you not to pee on my lawn." So I called the city, and I'm like, I'm just curious, like, who owns the land between the street and the sidewalk? Like, I'm just super curious about. I mean, I know we have to maintain it, but like, who actually owns that? And she said the city owns that. So yeah, I was real like I was ready to start like throwing poop up like onto his like
find other dogs.
Yeah, yes, yeah. Like, here's some flaming bags of poop. But he's just an old like ornery man.
Hateful.
But I'm like, fuck you, dude. Yeah, like he's a wiener dog. Do you know how much pee he has? Like, no. But I don't want it to get dead grass because he's peeing on it. I'm like, he's peeing on the pole. So anyway, why was I talking about that?
No
I
idea.
brought up the man shooting the dog as a nap example.
Oh yeah. So yeah.
Grumpy old man.
Because he was trying to. He said he'd poison our dog. He said I'll throw poison out there. Poison treats that he's gonna eat.
I'm gonna that's a much bigger nap violation than even if you were violating his property by letting your dog pee on his lawn.
Oh yeah, it wasn't like he didn't walk up onto the guy's lawn and like piss in the middle of his lawn. It was like on this pole that belongs to the city. But I was mad. I got in his face.
Yeah, like, that was our baby at the time. We didn't have babies, so our dog was our baby. Like, you're gonna poison my baby?
You're gonna poison my Oscar dog? Oh hell no!
I want to get to this siren comment here because there's a lot.
Please.
There's a bit to unpack, and then I'll wrap up on these comments that we have, and then we can move on to circumcision, and then I don't know, maybe we'll wrap up.
The circumcision.
So. She says, okay, big step here. What about the overpopulation myth versus whole countries not meeting the birth rates? 2 people make 1 baby equals less population. What if the government suggested mandatory licensing, birth control, etc.? Well, that's wrong because it's government intervention and aggression in inside of your life. Wouldn't preventing births not be just as heinous as killing them? I mean, so if you want to look at the perpetuation of the state telling you can't have a child versus like you can't kill someone, like, I think it's a bit of a. I don't think these two things are analogous. I guess you could say sin is a sin, and then maybe they are, and they're identical. But to me, I think, if I had to pick, I think I'd know which one I'd pick. Like, look, we can either have mandatory birth control or we make all.
We start killing 3-year-olds.
Right. Yeah,
I think I know what I'm going to pick. Statism has no right. 100%. NAP violations include aggression. Shrinking the population, not a NAP violation. Yeah, it would be if the state forced birth control on the entire country.
If they forced it.
Sterilization, shit like that.
That's 100% a NAP violation and an aggression. If your question is, do I agree with that statement, then yes, but I don't agree with the one specifically that would preventing births not be just as heinous as killing them. I think in the NAP, they would require different responses, honestly. But you're looking at it from the perspective of the state. So, from an individual perspective, of course, but, from the state, there aren't really too many things you can do unless you go all out. So
Go Rambo.
all right, so let's see if we got anything here. Mandatory toothbrushings. Hell yeah. There we go.
Joel.
Let's see. Crack baby basketball. Hell, that's how we fund it.
That's Jacob.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
Recognize my line.
Thanks for your input.
Nap is not gray to me. Well, that's just proves how gray it is. Irrelevant. They have drugs for that.
I love that.
I mean, it's so true though. Like, it's not gray for me. Yep. Thank you for proving how gray the nap is.
That's why we need to have our own little places where we can.
Yeah, little experiments.
For everybody to say like, this is our nap. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
I'm talking to Dave.
Joel says, I can't answer those either. I assume it was when I was going on my tirade of questions that I have. I avoid it at all costs. I do not mourn the dead. I just know that at some point you become aware. I do not want things to suffer. And at the same time, I just don't mind ending something. I mean, I understand where you're coming from. I think that could be taken a little bit out of context, but there's the agent argument is like, once you start having higher level brain activity, is it like you have someone who has the capacity to, make decisions and stuff like that, even if they're rudimentary, and then you're ending a moral agent, and that's a problem. So, or at least an emotionally complex being, which I think can also be argued as well.
Yeah.
And so we have lots of some in conversation here. I just want to make sure I see everything. They're both legislative measures to control. Yes, they are, but they have different outcomes. And I think that the ends don't justify the means as much as the means don't justify the ends typically. I think they're both pretty analogous. Fire at the wood chipper. Jesus. 300 trimester abortion. Both extremes should be considered. What about China's one-child policy? That's a horrible nap violation. They were.
I thought of that when he put it up there. I'm like, that's what I came to my mind. Yep.
Yeah, and that's
Now
terrible.
is that enforced with abortion?
It was. If they found out that you were pregnant, yeah. Abortion, fines, potential jail time, stuff like that.
Yeah. See, I don't know enough about that. That's. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was like mega.
But they got a lot of people there. They got a lot of people there.
Yeah, and
but to say that you can have one child and then if
the state doesn't have any right to tell you that, obviously.
Yeah.
I think that's a very easy question to answer.
It's rough, but overpopulation will be handled by natural means.
Eventually, yeah.
Well,
We'll either be so dense that we'll have a plague that'll thin us out, or we'll just run out of food.
Famine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, but that makes me so sad too to think of just like people starving to death. Like, gosh, that makes me so sad.
Now is
natural,
that worse? Is that worse than the government stepping in and avoiding that?
I don't want any sadness. I just want happy peace all the time.
That's the problem with the Ancapistan is that it's definitely not going to be that.
Yeah.
There's going to be ugly periods.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Naturally occurring.
Okay, I mean, but
ugliness.
just like thinking of people starving.
Oh yeah. You see the commercials with the extended bellies and the
But
flies.
just in my own imagination, just of thinking of people starving to death is a terrible thing. But
It is a natural thing. I will say that. Not that it justifies
it is.
it.
It's
but
true. It doesn't justify
natural
it, but
population.
it is natural. That's a natural consequence of
Overpopulation
of
happens all the time, and then in places in any species that doesn't have the ability to cultivate its own food
any species
is going to go through famines
or regulate
That's
its
true.
own reproduction.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. Yeah. Oh boy.
I think we've pretty much hit just about everything. I just want happy peace.
Can we do circumcision or what?
Yeah, let's move on to circumcision.
Hey, thanks for entertaining me with this. It was really great to have a conversation because it's been a while.
Oh no, I always welcome it. I had the conversation with Sherry, a couple other people. I usually, most of the time, we don't end up necessarily agreeing, perhaps, but I think we agree more than we disagree on this topic. So, at least with the implementation of whatever happens,
Yeah.
At least you hear each other out.
Yeah,
That's great.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not about fighting. I want to hear where other people are coming from. Yeah. John Kaufman says, I just want happy peace. I
Yep.
think he was quoting me.
That is.
That's me.
That is you. I need a shirt. It's the nightmare. I just want happy peace.
Just want happy peace. Right? Oh my gosh. I'll pay your mom to make that shirt for me.
There we go. Hey.
By force.
Yeah. Of course.
All right. So Sirens kicking this one off. Circumcision is a nap violation. I mean, I'm not asking
boy.
you to tell me the details about your kids, but go, if you want to divulge, what have you done with your children? You're the parents here.
Yeah, we're all
There,
all
yeah.
circumcised.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
I can't even
I'm
say
not.
I can't even say why. I think it's just the heritage or whatever tradition. It's just what we do.
yeah.
I'm happy with what I'm working with. I don't know.
You know what? Remember when we talked about the vaccinations and being ignorant on things?
That's kind of where we're at with it.
It was just what our parents did. And so we had our first and they did that. Okay, he was in the NICU and we didn't really get to like interact with him a whole lot at that point.
But he was in the little plastic box.
And so, but they said, do you want to circumcise? And we were like, yeah. We weren't allowed to touch him for 8 days. So I never got to like see what that was like for him. So we had our second child, a boy, and he was fine, came out fine. Everything was great. And they're like, do you want to circumcise? I'm like, yeah, that's what we did with our first, okay, so do it. And then I saw it and I'm like, fuck, holy shit. Like,
Looks kind of violent.
that looks like it fucking hurts. Like, oh my gosh, I felt so bad. And they're like, you just need to put all this Vaseline on. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing because our first one, I couldn't, he was already healed. He was already healed before I could even touch him. So what do I do? And I was like, oh my gosh, I felt bad, but I don't know the benefits of the other side. Like what's
Yeah, so again, it's another thing. It's like we don't chime in on it. We don't push either this way or that way.
I
we
don't know.
enough.
Like, okay, so my cousin's kids who are not vaccinated are also not circumcised either. Home births, everything. So I don't know, like, what's the upside of one and the upside of the other. Like, I don't know. I really don't know. So I can't say. I can
tell you what we did, but we don't know why.
Yeah. Well,
we did it because it was like what people.
Yeah, probably.
I would look more into it now.
What do you?
I would look more into it.
What do you think about the claims that it will like cause emotional trauma to the child that stays with them for the rest of their lives? I'm not a psychologist. I don't really have much of a claim on this part.
No, I understand. Yeah.
I don't know.
I like to think that I like to think that it's not traumatic to them because they were so young they can't remember, but they have a working brain, like things that they hold on to. Like, so what if that was?
So
now I'm
Siren
questioning now I'm like, oh my God, my kids, my poor boys.
So Siren here says it's not your body. It's not your body.
Okay.
So this is where I think, I don't know how much of you guys have listened to like Stefan Molyneux or someone like that, but he was the one who introduced me to the idea of the basically the contract of responsibility is what he typically calls it, which is the implicit contract upon having a child that you are responsible for its well-being and can make decisions on its behalf in that vein, right?
That's how I feel because
because you kind of, if you just set it down and let it go, it's not going to last
die.
that long.
Yeah,
exactly. So
there is the fourth trimester.
You have to you have to feed that baby because it doesn't know how to.
Its head was just too big, so it had to get out of your body, but it's still not self-sufficient.
Yeah, and so the problem that I have with it's not. Oh, real quick, I guess I go ahead and say I know there's a lot of interesting reading, and I've read quite a bit about circumcision and the potential traumatic effects it could have later on in life. I've also heard the same thing about falling off of a bicycle before. So learning how to ride, you shouldn't let your kid fall off the bicycle because it can be a traumatic experience about learning. And, maybe this is just me speaking from ignorance. I'm not a psychologist. I just have a really hard time buying that. I haven't seen anything that's so convincing that I'm like, oh, this is an example of how this trauma appears later on in life. It's just kind of like, it probably does because it hurts. And So what I will say, she brought up a comment earlier about, oh, well, if it's a female, then it's bad and it's an ab violation. Female genital mutilation, which is called circumcision in those countries, is a different process to male circumcision. Male circumcision, you're removing the foreskin. Yes, that's a part of your body. Okay, I get that. It's completely different than a lot of cultures, and we're going to use medical terminology here, so everyone put on your big boy pants. It's completely different than cultures that like remove the clitoris from a female. That is completely different.
Oh my. They what?
Yeah. You're just going to cut off a part of the tip of your dick.
Yeah, exactly. That's basically the same thing. Is that is different. There is a difference there. Like we can say like, okay, it's all removing a part of your body, blah, blah, blah. No.
They do that to little girls. I'm like, wait, okay. So I feel like with the boys, what I was taught was like that it was like you just cutting off some skin, like an overgrowth of skin that, so it like keeps it healthy, keep it cleaner, whatever. Like, and so, okay. But also society. That's what just kind of, that's what we do.
Tradition.
But
the biggest part, I guess.
But they actually take, in parts of the world, they do.
Yeah.
They do what?
They do what to little girls? They take that off.
It's not even just little girls either. If you say, so this happens mostly in Africa for older teenagers and stuff like that, but you move from one region to another and they demand that females be circumcised, you could be a teenager. It doesn't really matter.
But a female circumcision, what?
That's what they call it. That makes it sound, no, yeah. You're like removing parts of the labia and of the clitoris in most cases.
Oh my God, I'm dead. I can't even. Oh my. No, that is a part of like, okay. I'm having so many conflicting feelings right now. Oh my gosh.
See, I this is why I have a hard time when people are like, oh, they're the same, and we view one as an ab violation. I'm like, I don't think these things are exactly the same. I mean,
no, they're not the same. No, they're two. Okay, so like, I need a minute because you can't just. That's a part of your vagina. That's a part of what, you know what I mean? Like that's a part of. That's not just a little. Oh boy. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, so I typically
struggling. I'm sorry.
Sirens feel very strongly.
I believe it, and I can't even read her comments because I'm just.
So we're going to address a couple of her points in a second, but I typically describe it as, okay, so like if you had to pick between having the skin of your palm cut off or whatever, and like, it's gonna hurt. Yeah. It's gonna hurt. Mm-hmm. Then you got to put a Band-Aid on it, or you remove one of your digits from your pinky.
Okay,
Which
thank
would
you.
you rather
that's
do?
a really good. Yeah, the skin, please.
Yeah, exactly. If I had to pick, I'm gonna pick one. Now the argument is, oh, you don't have to pick. You just don't do either, right? Okay, I get that. So now we're gonna get into some of the comments that she's made. So there's something here. It says Catholics believe to cut males to reduce the sex drive and therefore sin.
Hasn't worked for me.
Yeah. So
or I could. If I still had the foreskin, holy shit.
I would be dead.
Yeah, so that there's potentially that historical outlook on like interchurch motivations. If you look at religious texts, at least religious societies that still do, like let's say Jewish cultures, for example, that circumcise based off of their religion, like I have a hard time telling them that they can't do that because then you get in the way of their practicing of their religion.
Yeah,
and that's a big deal.
Yeah.
So. Why divide by gender? Because I think I don't think. I'm going to stop saying think because that's a coy statement. I know that there is a difference between female genital mutilation and removing the foreskin. And one even, and this was brought up earlier, I don't remember who said it, is intent too, because there is such a thing as complications that could come from both having a foreskin and not having a foreskin. So, I get it. Clean your dick off and you'll be fine, right? Clean out the funk and you'll be good to go. But
roll that shit up.
Exactly, right? Yeah.
Right.
But there
But why are they
What's that?
Why are they taking that away? Okay, so why are they taking that away from the little girls?
I guess for the same traditional reason that he said.
It's a sex drive thing, is that if you remove the most sensitive portion of the genitalia, then you'll be less interested in having sex. So They don't think that sex is for females to enjoy. Exactly. So they remove it.
Oh my gosh. This is when I'm super grateful that we live in America.
Yeah.
This is one of those times where I'm like, yay, because they're not like forcing me to like. Okay, Sirens, I love you. I want to just say that real quick because I love Sirens, and it's okay that we disagree on this. But
it's
there is a difference. To me, I feel like there is a difference between cutting off an actual like part of skin versus an actual like.
Siren,
piece.
do you have Discord by any chance? Because we'll have you on. We'll hash this out. I have no issue with that.
I would love to have a conversation.
Yeah, I mean, a cordial conversation. I understand that it's through text, so you feel like you got to bang it out as fast as possible, and that can be difficult. But it's, it's.
Oh boy, how did I not know that this happened? I've freaked out.
I've seen it. I didn't go very deep into it at all, but I knew that there was some shit going on.
Siren,
can I tell you this?
Oh, hold on one second, Siren. I think I already added you as a friend on Discord. I don't remember what your name was though. Oh, I think it's the signed one, right?
She says I'm legit about to call you.
If you get on Discord and I see you come live, I'll add you to this call.
Boy.
So if I see you come live.
So when we were in Pittsburgh. We were at your sister's house, and I don't think we had cable then, so I was watching their cable. And I was watching this. It wasn't like graphic. It didn't go into.
Oh, with the dull knife. Is that what we're talking
little
about?
boy that got circumcised with the dullest knife in the fucking world in this tribe. It was like taking like one of my kids' knives from upstairs that come with
the plastic handle.
No, nothing.
Serrated, nothing.
And all you could hear was his screams. And he was like 8, I think.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's too late.
You're oh my gosh. Yeah.
I'm going to send you a friend request. If I don't already have you. Yeah, it looks like I don't.
Huge difference. Yeah.
Oh, she's ready.
I may miss up the call real quick, so give me 1 second.
Yeah, do your thing, man. That's totally cool. We've not really had this conversation.
No, it's just something we kind of did.
Yeah. I mean, you and I kind of talked about it, and we both agreed that it was just like, oh, okay, this is what our parents did. This is what's the best. Like we felt at that time was the best for the kids. Now, my cousin and her kids, she's got 4 boys. None of them are circumcised at all.
It's weird.
I don't know. I feel like I want to ask her, like,
well, I mean,
but she feels like it was there. It was there to begin with, so why take it off? Like it was there.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, and I understand that. I don't have anything against anyone with. I sent you the friend request, by the way, Siren. But I don't have anything against anyone who doesn't want to circumcise. I think you're completely within your right to not circumcise. I'm way okay with that. I just, again, we have the religious connotation to consider, and that is not always a good justification. Like, look at Sharia and stuff like that.
And I think that was a big part of mine. It's like I knew that it was not only a socially, thing that we've done, but in my head, I'm like, there's a religious thing that we do this for. I don't know what it means, but
that never really crossed my mind, though.
Yeah, it was kind of there from you, but
I was like, oh, it's just easier to keep clean, and it's what we do because I feel like that's what because it's
but also that's what I'm used to. I'm used to looking at mine and being like, yeah, I like the way it's looking right now. And then I've seen others. I don't know. I haven't really seen others that much. I mean, other than, every once in a while your cousin's kids be running around with their little elephant trunk. I'm like, that's kind of weird. So it's
gotta go pee in the yard.
It's a big part of what I'm used to.
Yeah.
And I have like no like any. I don't feel any trauma. Who knows? Maybe part of my
maybe that's why you're passive aggressive, Dave.
Some of my problems might be stemming from that. I feel like I've always felt like my problems were just part of who I am, but who knows?
There's a there's always the chance that something will come out in the future that's like, oh look, we found like the trauma. Here it is. Look, I'll point at it. And for us lowly beings to understand this psychological mumbo jumbo, but I just have like I said, I have a hard time. Siren,
Maybe only circumcised kids hate themselves.
I know that's not true.
Okay, so can I assume that you're circumcised then? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
No,
I
I think-
am.
Or you?
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
No, but I hate myself, so I mean that's not a good. No, but
I have my browser open here, and there's just this picture of Anthony Wieners just sitting here, like on the sidebar. It's just freaking me out. I heard he had to register as a sex offender. Did you hear anything about that?
I didn't, but it doesn't surprise me. He probably should. That dude's a creep.
It's just should share my screen here, like because it's like I'm watching the comments on my face, and then off to the side it's recent group photos. I don't even know what group that's in. I'm in some groups. No problem.
Hi, Sirens.
Hi, Mary. The fuck is
I
up,
just
girl? I
want
miss
to-
you.
Woo!
Oh, me too, but like 20 minutes ago. So I mean, while we're updating the whole world on our like toiletry habits.
Yeah. Well, as a mom, you have to like tell your kids, like, I'm going to the bathroom.
Leave me alone for a freaking minute.
At least it's not a Facebook status. It was only a live stream, bro. Like live stream.
Right.
Are we gonna record this next minute? Like, bro, you got to stay hydrated. That shit's way too dark. That's getting a little personal. I mean,
It shouldn't be yellow at all.
how far are you gonna take it? I mean,
I know. I think as a mom, I just do that because the kids.
you announce it,
I
yeah.
announce it, and then I do it when I'm at my friend's house, and I'm just like, I have to go pee, and I'm like, why did I say that? Son of a bitch.
Just get up and go, girl. You're an adult.
Yeah. She's like, you're an adult. You can just go to the bathroom. I'm like, I know, but I have kids. I just feel the need. I have to tell them.
make sure the house doesn't burn down in the 3.2 seconds it's gonna take me to like disappear around the corner, because as soon as you shut the door, there's a crisis every time.
I know. As
Suddenly
soon
somebody needs
as I close the door, I'm like, please. I'm like,
No one needs
No.
you except for the 35 seconds out of the whole day that you need to be like, I'll be right back. I promise. I'm on the other side of the
Yes.
store. Everything's fine. And
Yeah.
like the shit
Yeah.
goes bananas.
I know. I go in there and I'm just like, did everyone just die? What the
The
hell?
cats are children. They're all looking for you. The cats are clawing under the doors. The kids are like trying to lock. Your
Screaming,
husband's like, where the
stuff.
fuck are you? The folks knock on the door. The UPS guys here, the pizza delivery guys, and like
Your mom
fuel
showed up.
delivery shows up. You're like, what the fuck? Yeah, and your mom shows up. Like, it's just
Yeah.
the whole world. You know how like
I'm
if
like-
you're not doing anything, nobody ever wants to hang
Nothing.
out. But the minute you're like
No.
busier than a one-arm paper hanger, everyone calls you.
Right.
If you're not dating somebody, then like nobody
Oh,
wants
yeah.
to be around you. If you are, and everyone's like, hey, yo, I used to like you in school, and you're like, fuck off.
Yeah, you looking good, boy.
Like, I literally just started dating someone yesterday. That why is there 52 messages in my inbox? Stop. Like that's never happened in the universe. Like the minute you decide something, in life, life's like, hey, so we had some other plans, and you're like, I'm good, thanks.
Thanks.
I think I got this
I
sorted.
need a minute. I still have to pee. Let me go. I'll be back. I promise.
I swear to you, my kids, I'm like, can you just all not kill each other? Like, not seriously, not hurt each other. No one jump off the couch. Everyone just sit on the fucking couch and
Watch
let me
your
go
PJ
pee.
mask.
So I can
What is
pee
happening?
without worrying.
No, I really do love kids, and I want to like just make it clear to you guys. Like you make little comments here and there, but like without the kids being shoved up your ass 24 hours a day, and I get it. And it's not because you don't love them; it's because you just need your brain for like an hour,
Yeah,
for, like 5
I
minutes.
do.
For
Oh,
like
I
5
do.
seconds. Sometimes you're like, everybody stop, and it's just
Yeah.
because nobody gets that it's such an intense, continual thing. Like
Continual, intense.
whenever I had kids, the dad would always be able to sleep. Like you could break into the apartment and murder everyone in the house on top of him, and he would be snoring through it, sleep through it. If my kid turns over in his sleep, I'm like, he's facing north. I know where he is.
Right.
It's like I just need to shut off a while so
Is
I
he
can.
suffocating?
Then when they're quiet for too long, you wake up and they're like, "Oh my god, are you still breathing?" You gotta like poke them, and you're like, "Oh shit, fuck, I need to go back to sleep." So like, you
Nope,
just
now
wake
he's
up.
awake.
Now he's awake.
You poked him.
Thank you for
Hey,
saying
we're-
that, because
Sounds like so much fun.
I feel like I know
It's
I say like,
magical.
oh my gosh, I'm dying. Everybody, like my kids just constantly talking at me, and it's hard because I homeschool and I'm here all the time with them. But I do. I love them. Oh, I love them so much. But yeah, there's moments of the day where I'm like, if you don't stop talking to me.
But I loved how I made you laugh today.
My processor can only handle just so much right now. The marquee across my forehead says "server busy. Please try again later." You know, like
Yeah.
I need just let it load. It's got to get to space and come back. Damn it, just let it load.
I know. I'm like, if y'all would just stop interrupting me and give me 5 straight minutes, I'd be fine. But no, it's like 30
One
seconds,
question at a time.
15
Can we do
seconds.
that?
Yeah, like,
revolving
and they just
door.
revolve. It's
Not
just
even one question at a time. One child at a time. Like, can you
yeah.
not
Oh, they
yell?
do. They revolve through the door.
funny,
And
yeah,
it's like,
it's,
oh
it's
my
like
gosh.
one leaves our room, the next one comes right in. Like they're like they were
Like they're
waiting.
tagging out. They're tagging out. Like your turn.
They're like secretly high-fiving on the other side of the door, and they're like,
I know
"Dude,
they
they're
are.
gonna blow. You're up,
I
bro.
know they are.
Bet."
we got them right there.
Today's the day. Mom's gonna lose it.
I love today though when I made you laugh.
Yeah.
Like Jane's like, Mom, look, Mom, look, Mom, look. I'm like, Mary,
Yes.
witness the hot dog bun. She wants to show it to you.
Jane just brought in her half-eaten like hot dog bun and half-eaten hot dog, and they were all separated. So she's like, "I'm going to set this hot dog
On your bed.
I'm gonna hold up this hot dog bun and this hot dog bun." And Dave's like, "Behold," or no, what did you say? Like,
Witness the hot dog.
yeah. Like, and I'm like, I'm seeing it, Jane. It's fine. It's there. And she's like, "But look at it this way, and look at it this way." And then look at it
Mom,
this way,
look.
and then you have to see it's facing this way.
You know that part-
Mom, look.
That part in Family Guy where Stewie's like, "My mom," and she finally just snapped. What?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, oh my god, someone put that in a cartoon. Holy fuck! I'm so sorry. I didn't know that was visible on the outside.
Yeah. No, and then they're like, Jane's like, today
I'm
at
sorry.
the
I love
fire.
you. What do you want? Please just
Yeah.
like. And usually kids are really like easy to deal with. They're chill and they're like. You can talk to them, and they're the most interesting people on the planet because they ask questions nobody's ever going to ask you because they
Oh, for
actually
sure.
like, they're thinking about
wanna-
stuff that no one
they
like.
do
You're not
want
allowed
to
to think about it anymore. You got to grow up, and they never lose that like curiosity to always question things.
Mm-hmm.
I think like this all really it seems rabbit trail, but it all like ties back into the original point of the conversation, which is this: is like when did we decide that it was okay to stop asking questions? You know, like. Kids ask questions about everything, like why is the sky blue? It's not. It's really, it's the refraction of light in the atmosphere, and like you can explain it, okay, but like I hated when I was a kid people who were like, because I said so, and that's it. That's it. That's all. And I was like, oh man,
It's my fourth
there's
trigger
so
word.
many ways that could illustrate this, but this
But
is just
you
that,
get there.
You know, I think a lot of people stop asking questions because A, their questions aren't answered. B, they feel like they're put down for asking questions like, "Oh, you're stupid." Like, no, it's a legitimate question. If it wasn't for wandering attention, we'd still be like, we wouldn't have fire, but we would be still killing people with rocks. You know, like it's just okay. So not everything's going well according, to innovation. We've learned more horrible ways to kill people, but at the same time, like we wouldn't have medicine, we wouldn't have the ability to help anyone on the level that we can. If it wasn't for people saying, "Hey, how does this work? And why are we doing this? And why not this?" And Galileo was almost executed by the Catholic Church, like for saying, "Hey, we go around the sun; it doesn't go around us." That seemed insane.
Right.
Constantly say, "Hey, wait a second! Hey, wait a second! Hey, wait a second! We need to rethink this. We need to ask more questions."
I'm
We'd
still not
be
sold
like,
on the
we'd
whole
all be in the
Earth
dark.
going around the
We'd all
sun
be in
thing.
the dark, dude. So here's
It's
the
actually
thing.
my cousin's son's name, Galileo. She named him Galileo.
Sherry
No, 'cause
said
if
this. Sherry said this in the stream that I last saw that she was talking to Christian. She said we should never be afraid of asking questions. We should never be afraid of an idea. If the truth
I
can
know.
destroy something, let it be destroyed. And don't okay, so Dave said earlier about anarchism, he pretty much had to say, okay, pretend I know nothing and let me try to see this from the whole view, not just one
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
No, that's my whole life. I know nothing.
Right. So here's the thing, like you have to like understand that some of the notions that you accept as normal are normal here because we live here, but not somewhere else. And
Mhm.
we need to really be able to step back just in the same way we do with stuff about, the state or whatever, and really look at a lot of philosophical questions and say, hey, is this actually okay? Or is this just something I believe because everyone around me thinks it's okay?
Because yeah. So is that your your thought on
The
the
segue.
circumcision, because
Just about to
that's how
segue
I
into
sort
that.
of felt. That was
I
how.
think- I
I'm sorry,
think
Christian.
No, but this is my thing, is there's absolutely no difference between cutting a part of the body off of a male child as there is to a female child. You say, oh, it's just skin, but like you could argue that it's just skin, nerve endings on either one. It's really not any different. The thing is that we've been taught as a society to accept this, and that's why we do it. There's other countries where if you suggested, hey, are you going to have this done? They'd be like, why the fuck would I do that? And it would be just as ludicrous to them to consider the alternative. So here's the thing, like, this is such
It's
a weird
okay.
topic.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, like I said, until like 10 minutes ago, you didn't know that they did this to little girls in like Africa. Okay, like your whole family, all your aunties are gonna come around with like a sharp piece of metal or some broken glass or some shit, and we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
We're gonna stitch some things. Here's the thing, like I said, until like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, that was Dave.
That was my
Dave.
fault.
Right. So you get all your family around, your aunties, and it's a thing, and you listen to seriously, just like look it up, listen to like NPR interviews and stuff with women in these countries that said, hey, this is what happened. My whole village basically held me down and said, this is what you have to do. This is our norm. And like literally like a piece of glass or something, just cut off everything and then close it, stitch it closed, and be like, this is so, someday this will make your life easier. How is making that more like scar tissue going to help you have a child? You could die like that. You literally just increase the odds of you not living through childbirth. Like, so I understand that in a sense, like, okay, a dude, you do this, it's not going to affect your ability to reproduce in the sense of like, you can still do it. It's not going to like, you don't have to have a baby, but at the same point, you're still cutting off another part of another person's body without their consent. In the trust is your culture that this is something that's going to help them. But why not really look at it? If the thing is,
Snoring.
I'm not saying that you're not curious. I'm saying if you really want to know the truth, you have to let go of all of your ideas about what our country, community, or your religion or whatever says this is okay, and really look at it from the really, really outside point of view, which is, as a human being, if you went to another planet and had to explain this to someone, how could you possibly justify it? Like, what purpose does this really serve? Why would you do this, and why would your body produce this if it wasn't needed for something? And there's actually information on the side of not circumcising people that would actually be beneficial in a lot of ways. And there's a lot of, you talk about religion, okay, this religion does that, but literally there are actually historical facts where they said, okay, we don't want you to like touch yourself too much, so we're going to help you like curb that. Like, who decided whether you're a state or a church or whatever, a king, or you consider yourself a god or a regular fucking Joe? Who gives you the right to say to somebody else, you have to do this to make me more comfortable or to make life easier? Like, why not let them decide for themselves? You could at like, 35 or however old you fucking wanted to, just be like, hey, I want to have this done. And you could do it. But if you take that person's choice away, then they don't have the choice. That's the whole point. That's violating their rights.
Yeah, it's a body sovereignty issue. I get that.
I see that too. Yeah.
I like I said, I mean, I don't think anybody who says that circumcisions are wrong aren't coming from a place of a good argument. I don't. What's the best way of me to put this? Is it? I mean, you said a lot of right things. There is that you have to let all of your preconceptions behind and et cetera. But there is a certain point where you're like, my biggest issue is with the religious community. If I was circumcised or not, I honestly don't really care that much. I know it matters for me if I was to make the decision for the child, but me now being circumcised, it's not really something I ever worry about. That my body sovereignty was violated in that case. It's violated every day. So, it's,
here's an interesting perspective. You're talking about like vaccines earlier and things being voluntary. So I'm assuming if you ever you said you wouldn't, want the police to talk to your child without you there. If you talk to the doctor and you say, okay, I know what's in this, whatever, you have informed consent, you can make your own decision because you did the research or whatever, and you said yes or no to this one thing. That's making a choice. So most of these, and I'm talking like maybe 98% or more of circumcisions happen where the doctor takes them into a different room And the parents are just like, oh, they come back, they're a little bit upset, but they'll be fine. We'll take care of the wound and we're good. But if you literally saw how they did it and how like they're held down and how much pain they're in, and like, oh, let's give you some sugar water to distract you. Like, oh, we'll make sure they're not in any pain. Like you don't, if you like, all right, so you talked about you didn't know all that much about abortion until you started researching it. You got to do a project or whatever. If you actually look into this, you would never, as a mother, especially from a freshly born child or a dad, be able to be like, hey, it's okay that this is happening right now. Like, that's such an incredibly painful thing to do. You show up on the planet, okay, you're warm, you're in your own sauna, you got music, there's a heartbeat, everything's good. And suddenly you go from in the womb to in the room, and then some guy's like, hey, this is what we're going to do. And then you're in excruciating pain. Like, that's not a good way to enter. And I'm not saying that you would necessarily remember that. But why should one of the first experiences you have on the planet as a male be like unbearable pain? What does that do? What does that prepare you for? Even like just know
pain of life.
Think about it.
Reality. That was a joke.
Your child might not ever know about pain until they're like several months old. Okay. Why should your first introduction to the planet be that? Like, that's, maybe this does contribute in some way, even if it is subconscious. And I'm not saying that it does one way or the other, but like, why can't we entertain the possibility that this is actually harmful?
I don't have a problem with entertaining it.
Years ago.
Yeah, I just haven't seen. I just haven't seen anything. I mean, I know it's painful. I understand that. There's no distinct. There's no saying it isn't. Like, there's no. You can't use anesthetics.
Here's the thing. I'm arguing against this, knowing that my sons are, but it's not because I said, okay, I really need to have this thing happen. This is the norm. This is the way it's pushed on you. Don't even get me started on like obstetric violence and how like you're totally pushed into this corner of like, have you ever seen Monty Python's like the beginning, they get the machines out and he's like, oh, get the one with all the lights and the buttons and the beep beep beeps in case the director comes by, and in this whole like hubbub that's going on, the woman says, doctor, what do I do? And he says, nothing, dear, lie back, you're not qualified. And that's exactly how you're treated. You're treated like the body that you've lived in when you go to a doctor. Like, how many people have looked into an illness and a doctor says, oh, you're fine and this isn't happening, but you've lived in your body for like 30 years and you say, hey, no, like I can't function, like there's a real problem here, and they just write you off. Yeah. It's so much crazier to be at the most vulnerable point you'll ever be in your life and have somebody tell you you don't have any voice, we're experts, we know what's going on, like whatever. Everybody's like, oh, the experience is all different, you can have a plan. Like, they tell you all this fancy shit, but they don't really stick with it.
No, they don't.
Why would you expect the same industry to tell you the truth about that?
So what do you think the reason is that why is this a thing?
Well, it's cultural.
Why do we do this?
We've talked about this.
A lot of it is cultural, and a lot of it is religious. And the way that we grew up before this, we had different like worldviews. We had different value systems. Some of this is just carried over. Some of this really is, this is a tradition. But sometimes traditions are just a collection of bad habits. And sometimes it takes a great number of years or decades or centuries for people to look back and say, hey, we can't do this anymore. It used to be culturally acceptable to burn people alive at the stake for having like a birthmark. Oh, you must be a witch. It was morally and legally allowed, but it wasn't right. And it took a great number of years for people to say, hey, hold on a second. Wait a minute. Like, this isn't okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe it's not the exact same equivalent, but we do things as people thinking maybe this is the way to deal with it. But as our understanding changes, so should our solution. We shouldn't just stick to this is what we've always done, so this is what we should always do. Never stop asking questions, ever. That's where, when your curiosity and your compassion and your common sense dies, that's when you lose everything. Those are the three things I think are honestly the most missing in this whole, like, the timeline that we live in. It's just, the average Joe thinks I don't know anything, so I can't ask questions, or I can't really weigh in on this because I'm not an expert. But listen, like you have, most people really do. You have the ability to discern for yourself. You have a sound mind. You have curiosity. If you care anything about other people, you have the ability in yourself as a person. This is the whole idea with the whole NAP violation thing. As an individual in charge of yourself, you have the appropriate amounts, normally speaking here, of intelligence, of like human compassion and curiosity to just keep asking questions and say, hey, you know, like, is this really okay, or are we doing the wrong thing? There's nothing wrong with going back and asking people, like, maybe we should reevaluate this. It doesn't make you less of a person. That doesn't make you, you know.
Let me ask you this real quick. So with the whole vaccine thing we talked about, so parents making the decision for their kids to be circumcised, but are they're getting their kids vaccinated for things? What are your thoughts on that? I mean, is that like a NAP violation because the kids couldn't? And this is just me being the devil's advocate, so I love you, Sirens. But is that like the kids can't consent to having those vaccinations? So what is that?
There's like a difference, I think, with consent around like raising kids. Okay, so little kids don't know you can't pull the boiling water on you. You can't run across the street because you'll get killed in heavy traffic. Like, they're not aware of dangers. There's a sense where you do have to make decisions for them or curb their behavior so they don't hurt themselves. And okay, like here, and I pretty much agree with Dave in the sense of like, number one, it should never be compulsory. Anytime anybody tells you we're gonna do this and you can't question it, run, dude. Seriously, like anytime any ideology, any religion, any person, anybody anywhere says you cannot ask questions. So look at it like this: if you're gonna buy a car and the guy said, okay, here's the car, and let me know what you want to know about it. Here's how much money it is, and it's kind of like, oh, this is a bit steep. And they didn't let you ask questions. Would you still buy that car? You couldn't say how many miles are on it. You know, has it been any accident? You would never buy that car. You'd be like, there's no way this shit's not rigged. Like, you're not gonna do it. So why not apply the same caution to any other decision that you make?
I'm curious what your opinion is on the, you know, we could talk about how
I believe in informed consent is my like. You can decide whatever the hell you want based on your own values, but do the research, be informed. Don't just say, you know, XYZ person or group or whatever does this, so I'm not going to ever think about it. Please take the time to just say, you know what, I looked into it, this is what I believe, and this is what I'm going to do. Like, I can respect that, even if I don't agree with you. I don't have the right to tell you what to do. I don't want you to think like me. I just want to know that you're actually thinking.
So what about parents who use the justification of like the health side of, you know, it prevents incidences where you could get like an infection or an inflammation and have to, you know, eventually get it removed anyways during a procedure like that, which is rare. I understand that.
But you could also get lung cancer and have to have one removed. You could and breathing, like literally anything you could do. Being alive, the human condition is like a lot of suffering. Like anything, any component of your physical body could cause malfunctions or have problems. But you couldn't say, okay, you know, like we've decided that you have a pretty good indication you might get lung cancer. So like we're just going to start taking everyone's lungs when you're like 24 or something. That would be ludicrous, right? Because you're like, nah, that just doesn't seem like it's a rational like risk assessment. You know, like maybe they're good for another 30 years. You don't know. But like you wouldn't take something that crazy as being normal. But the things that we consider normal, some of them actually are that nuts. It's a little bit weird to say, you know, like based on some kind of data that might not apply to you, this is what you think that you should do, because, you know, maybe you'll just be one of those people that doesn't like to wash or something. So we'll just, you know, cut this off at the pass. Like, you don't know that about this person or any other person. Like, you don't have the right to tell people what they're going to do or what kind of person they're going to grow up to be. And like, why would you take that from them? It's about taking the choice away from them.
No, I mean, I get that. I just think that, you know, I mean, I don't want to make it sound like we're arguing in circles, but back to the vaccines, because I feel like these kind of go for it.
You could literally ask me anything, and I'm good. I'm really into the whole intellectual debate thing. I'm not going to take offense to it because I really do appreciate opposite viewpoints. A lot of times I've talked to people that don't think anything like me, and I say, hey, you know what? I really never did think of it that way. It never, ever fucking occurred to me to see it from your point of view because it just didn't. Like, it's just, you know, so you can ask me anything. I'm not going to take it as you attacking me as a person. It's really, you can ask me whatever the fuck you want.
Well, you know, so I was just gonna say for that, you know, from the vaccine example we were talking about, you know, as like an infant getting vaccinations and stuff like that is to mitigate the chances of you getting one of these diseases. I won't say prevent because nothing's 100% effective, but you give your child the measles vaccine to mitigate the chances of them getting measles. I mean, could you not argue from a perspective that
removing a vestigial element of your body is, and this is a little more extreme the further you take it, but there's an argument to be made that the mitigation of future harm could be seen as the parents acting in the best interest of the child in the moment, which is where I think a lot of people who aren't religious and understand the cultural background still argue.
Yeah.
Way behind that kind of argument is, okay, we don't want your kids to get cancer or whatever, or have some kind of thing going on. But here's the thing, you get a hangnail, okay? We all got toes. You get a hangnail, you get that effect, you get gangrene, you could have it down to the bone showing and have to get the shit amputated. But does that mean we should cut everyone's feet off?
No, but toes aren't necessarily vestigial. Like, you can't balance without your big toe. I think, or your pinky toe, whichever it is. It's just.
If you mean vestigial in the sense of why does it form on literally every fucking human male on the planet if it's not meant to be there?
Why does your appendix form?
We've actually done research. Your appendix actually does help produce white blood cells to help fight off infections. You can survive without it, but you will survive better with it if it is functioning properly. If it ruptures, obviously you need to have it taken out because you're gonna have an internal infection that's gonna take out the rest of your organs. That's why they extract it. But literally, you will survive longer and better. Like your spleen, you don't need your spleen. Yeah, you fucking do. If you look into the actual functions of these organs, the things that we didn't understand at the time, so we said, okay, medicine says you don't need this because if we take it out, you won't live. But if we take out your heart, you won't. So you must not need this. It's not necessarily a good argument. It's not entirely factual. We didn't have all the information when these practices were put into place. Like, we used to do the four humors, let me taste your urine and your snot, and we'll tell you what kind of you need to eat less red meat or whatever. That's insane. That's just as nuts as the essential oil thing. Okay, so we had limited information when medicine started, and as time goes on, the more information we have, the more we should consider maybe there is something more to it.
No, I think that's fair. I think you bring up a lot of good points. I just, I'll have to take some more time to mull it over. I don't have any reason to circumcise a child. I'd have to, not really that interested in having children to begin with, but I don't have any cultural ties to it necessarily. Pretty much any argument that I have is.
Let me take you to a totally weird extreme. This is going to seem pretty fucked up, but bear with me here.
Okay.
So we live in a society where there's a huge push for support this cancer industry or whatever, this research and all that crap. So if you just assumed for the sake of mathematical simplicity that half the population was female, and they said, okay, maybe 40% of those women are going to get breast cancer or whatever, would you advocate also saying, well, we could prevent the cancer of this, so we should just, we're just going to cut your breasts off when they happen, and it'll keep you from dying later on, possibly, maybe.
So I think we have a fundamental distinction here between we talked about this earlier. You said there's no difference between female genital mutilation and male circumcision, and again, we could talk about this now, but I can't make the connection between the skin that goes around the penis, foreskin, and removing the labia and possibly even the clitoris and other portions.
Because both of these measures were to reduce sensitivity and sex drive in human beings as they were adolescents and children. The main drive behind this, it's not, oh, this is going to help you. It's, we're going to make sure that you don't do the wrong thing. We don't want you to be, lustful little creatures running around in the night and just, we want to we got to curb your desire. It's a way of controlling people. It's another way, the same way the state or the same way religion or anything else says, we don't like the behavior that you do. It makes us uncomfortable. So in order for us to be comfortable in a situation that we're never going to see the shit we're even talking about, okay, most people who are say, okay, I'm for circumcision or whatever, they're never gonna be naked with you. They don't know but hey, I'm gonna do his future girlfriend a favor. That's pretty fucking creepy. You're never gonna be there for it. Why do you give a fuck at all? That's a weird it's a weird way of controlling people, and it's a weird violation of the personal space and personal liberty and your own sovereignty that sets you up for things like sadism, because automatically everyone's already made choices for you all this time, so why shouldn't you just keep trusting them?
I understand that there's there's a similarity and justification for the two practices, but I think
But they're literally the same thing. You are cutting away the flesh of a human being for the convenience of someone else's opinion.
I think we made this comparison earlier, and I don't know if you were here for that or not, but I said it's like, would you rather remove the skin on your pinky or remove a digit? Is how I feel like. Yes, they're both parts of your body, and neither one of them would be a fun time. But
right. But would you rather be tased by the cops or beaten soundly? I mean, it's the same fucking thing.
Oh,
how is it not? How is it not the same though? Like you're saying, to one degree is okay. Taxation is not theft if it's 2%, but if you take 80%, then we're gonna brawl. I mean, you're splitting hairs. You're saying by degrees
You're
this
right.
violation
Okay.
is not a
so that
this violation.
That I'll take. I'll take that I'm splitting hairs. I'll take that I'm playing an angle that doesn't necessarily have to be played because the internal justification for the practices are inherently different. But let's say, for example, we deemed circumcision as a nap violation for both male and females. Let's just say we did that because it's a violation of body sovereignty. So if I were to respond to the nap violation of the removing of a foreskin versus the genital mutilation of a female, depending on the severity, that could require two different responses in some cases. I mean, there's,
Listen, okay, so circumcising a little boy may not threaten his life in the way that it threatened a female. If you do this to a female child, the scar tissue may prevent her from delivering her child. She could die. But here's the thing. Do you know how many little boys in the United States die from like blood loss? They cut an artery by accident. Like some shit went wrong. There was an infection. Like it's a pretty big fucking number. And
it's
people
like a 10%
never
complication rate, I think.
But they never talk about this. So if it's 10%, oh, that's acceptable. But what if your child's in the 10%?
I didn't say it was
What
acceptable.
if you're the one that gets the hack? But what if you're the one that gets the hack? What if someone says, okay, no, I've done this before, and your child's the one that bled to death and you can't stop it? And he was literally born like 5 fucking hours ago. How would you feel when someone says, oh, well, you're just in the 10%, so it's okay?
Well, that's like
that's not okay.
That's like if my child's the 1 in a million that gets a vaccine and gets the autism from it. I mean, I guess it's that calculated risk thing. And you could argue that there's that 10% chance doesn't outweigh any of the risks that you could get from, say, an infection from the foreskin or something.
But it's different theoretically when you do not have children to when you do have children. Like Dave said earlier, your child happens, they come out, and at the same time, you're like, oh my God, I'm so excited. You're like, holy fuck, please don't die. I have no reason to believe you will, but please don't die. Like, it's a difference between seeing someone getting shot on television and having it happen to you in real life. Like, it's a totally different fucking experience. And you can feel sympathetic for, empathize with, oh my God, that was so moving with the character in the story, all you fucking want. But until it actually happens to you and you say, oh my God, I made this person, and it hits you, like, and I think it hits dudes differently because it's kind of a concept until you meet them. Whereas if you're the woman, you've known them the whole time, you know their movement schedules, like their personality in a way, because you're never away from them. They're literally inside your body. Is a totally different thing. Like, but the difference between, hey, if I have kids someday, I'm never going to do this or whatever. Like, you could write fucking libraries of shit off of that one concept. Okay. Like, there's a difference between saying theoretically, if I did this, I would think this, and having it happen to you in real life. It's so incredibly different. It's you can't explain it to anybody. It's literally one of those, you had to be there, unless this has happened to you and you've gone through it. You will not understand the visceral fucking need to protect this person in this way. Like, I don't care how close you are to your mom, your dad, your girlfriend, your sister, your brother, whoever. Until you have a child, you will never completely understand how absolutely and without hesitation you would completely lay down your life for another person. So when you come to that level, we talk about, as libertarians, we say, okay, well, you can't violate my rights, and whatever, and I'm a person, and all this crap. We talk about it all the time. But when you have the vulnerability of another human life that you're responsible for outside of your own person, oh my God, that is so much heavier. I would rather take care of 10 of me than 1 of them, in the sense of like the weight of that. The sheer like human responsibility is just, it's so heavy. And it's not a matter of like, oh, I wish this didn't happen or whatever. It's just, until you love somebody that much, you'll never understand. And it's like, it's weird, and a lot of it is biological and chemical and whatever, and you can make all the philosophical arguments you want, but until you are actually willing to die for somebody else, like you don't have like a real choice, really. I think. I mean, maybe some people do, maybe some people don't feel attached to their kids, but I can't wrap my head around it, man.
So
I can't, because I give all the fucks when it comes to my kids.
yeah, Joel here corrected me. It's well, if I'm doing some quick maths right, 6 plus 4 is 10 plus 1.8 carried 0. It's like an 11.8% complication rate, and then you have later complications which aren't well defined, which that makes sense.
But here's the thing about statistics. You can bend statistics to any direction you want to. You can say, well, 50% of the people, or 75 or 25% people interviewed said this, but you don't know if they talked to 5 people or 50 people or 2 people.
No, I get
however
that.
many.
Yeah, that was just the information that he gave me, so I'm just making sure I'm correct.
There's an acceptable margin.
No, I'm not saying that there is an acceptable.
Saying, okay, you're not talking about a car where you're
actually,
like, 10% of the time my car doesn't start, but usually it does, so I guess, I'll keep driving it. It's not the same thing as like, most of my kids didn't die. This is a different ratio. It's a entirely different equation than a material object or a process or I didn't win the lottery this time. There's a real life at stake. There's a real person. There's a real investment, and it's very personal, and it's biologically and psychologically and just it's connected to you in every way. You can't ever really separate yourself from that. And there's a lot of people who do, and you have to live with like the consequences. You can't. It's not the same thing at all. It's not a cold mathematical statistic. We were decided to build a potato can in the backyard or like launch pumpkins with a trebuchet, and 85% of the time they landed in the garden, but once in a while it goes crazy and goes over there and takes out the barn. It's not the same fucking thing at all. There's a very, very, very real, visceral, like human thing at stake here, and it's not just human in the sense of we're all people, but you wouldn't walk into a Bears and be like, hey, I'm gonna take this one's cute and this one's mine. You just fucking mauled. Like it's not a rational thing in the sense of, not that you can't be rational about it, but the way you feel towards your children is not a rational, quantifiable equation. When we say, hey, our youth, they go to war because I want to do this for my family, or I want to do this because I want to protect my parents, my brothers and my sisters and my friends, like that's the kind of it approaches that sort of feeling, that brotherhood of I will do this for you. No greater love hath any man than he that lays down his life for his friends, right? Like it approaches that feeling, but it doesn't even come close to it.
Yeah, I think you did your math the wrong way.
Yeah, I think it's actually I carried the 0 in the wrong direction, so
yeah,
it should be like 1 point something percent, but
no,
I'm
not
pretty
even
sure
point.
Most of us are kind of drinking, so we'll forgive the math, but
0.5. Now with me, it's I think it's like you do bring some really Sirens bring some really strong arguments to the table, and I can agree with them. I think for me it's just mostly I'm team circumcised. and now
I'm gonna make the really out there random on the branch guess that the reason that you're okay with this is because this already happened to you, so you don't think it's not abnormal.
That's what I'm saying. That's where I'm at. That's what I'm used to, and then so now my kids are too. It's like, and I totally understand your arguments, and I think they're really good arguments, but that's just
this is my thing. Is I regret the fact that when my boys were that young, I didn't have the perspective I have now, because I never would have agreed to that. I never would have, because, and it's not about the business of, oh, well, does this improve, your sex life, or is your girlfriend going to be offended? Whatever fucked up reason you come up with. It's not about that. It's literally that I didn't allow you the choice because culture said this is what you should do, or some doctor said, well, we think we need to do this or whatever. And nobody gave you the real information. Like when you go to a hospital and you tell somebody, oh, I'm going to have a baby, I'm pregnant, you go to the first appointment, and they're like, oh, congratulations, or hey, what do you want to do about this? Alternately, And if you decide to keep your child, they're like, oh, hey, well, here's some things that you can expect. And you can make a plan, and you can have emergency contacts or whatever, but they do not tell you really when it comes down to it. This is pretty much a Ford assembly line. Like, well, I gotta go on break. My shift's over in 5 minutes. Could we speed this up? Kind of shit. Like, they don't.
I know that.
You can meet all the doctors in the whole place, and the one that happens the day your kid is born is the one that you never fucking met. Like,
Yep.
You're not like, they give you this warm, touchy feely, like you have.
No, our doctor wasn't even there.
When it comes down to it, you really don't have a say. And if you tell somebody, hey, I don't want my kid vaccinated within the first, whatever, the first year or the first week or the first day. Here's the thing. Your kid's born perfectly fine with a perfectly functioning, like, everything, barring some, anomaly. And suddenly you have all these doctors that are like, I know your kid's only 5 minutes old and it's the most precious thing in the world, but we want to stick holes in it with these pins. They're not going to like this. But also, if it's a dude, we're going to cut some shit off and that's fine. But, like, why? Like, what's with the rush? What's with that whole, like...
It is a rush. You're right. It
line
is.
them up, knock them down.
Yeah.
We got shit to do. And I've literally had nurses be like, well, I'm going on break or my shift's over and, like, I won't be here. And doctors that totally were like, I decided to go golfing this weekend instead, so I won't be there. And I know you were like, I know you as a person from all the shit I said to you at the visit, but I don't really care what happens to you. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's so impersonal to take somebody, to take a mother in the most vulnerable place you will ever be in your life with all your business bared to everybody, not even about the embarrassment factor, but just literally, like, this has never happened to you before, especially if you're a first-time mom, where they say,
for sure. Yeah.
Hey, you can't trust your own opinions or what you feel is happening or how comfortable you are, or if you're nervous, or if you just need a hug, or if you're just upset, or you just, maybe you need some water or some coffee, or you just need someone to tell you, hey, you're doing a good job or whatever. Like, they don't give a fuck, dude. A lot of the times they're just like, you need to go with whatever gets told to you. And it's so, like, when you go to a doctor and you say, hey, man, I've got a chest cold, and they're like, I think it's allergies, and maybe you're like, okay, well, I'll try this, and it doesn't work. You go back and you're like, nah, dude, I'm coughing up green shit now. Like, there's something going on here. You like, and they're like, maybe you should try this. You're going to stick with them and say, hey, like, I feel awful. I can't go to work. There's the thing. But when it comes to giving birth, everyone's like, you don't know anything.
No, I know.
There's a million people telling you the same thing, and you need to buy.
And they're
this
just going by the book. They're going
crib because we're just going to wake you to in panic mode, and they don't ever give you the agency as a person to say, "Hey, I know what's happening," and like, it's hard to explain. Even if you're with somebody that, in my opinion, even if you're madly in love with this person and you share like every detail of your life, it is so fucking hard to translate to another person. This thing won't ever happen to, how it really is, like how you really feel. I'm not even talking about pain. I'm just talking about the experience of like, oh my God, I'm responsible for this person. And like, here it is. And it's going to happen no matter what. And to have somebody, think about this. Animals pack animals. Okay. So like lions and zebras and whatever, a lot of times when they give birth, they go away from everyone else. They have to be by themselves, and they have to like, just chill and try to calm down or whatever the hell it is they're doing. They'll bring them back and reintroduce them, but you don't get that opportunity in human culture. You get, the first thing we're gonna do is put you under the microscope. We're gonna be invasive. You need to wear this, monitor. You got to put these like, things in your veins. You got to do this. You got to do that. Like, there's so much shit going on, and they don't tell you anything. They don't listen to what you say, and if you say, like, I'm upset or if I'm whatever, they don't actually take into consideration a lot of times, unless you have a really good doctor and you're really lucky. How you actually feel about it as a person. Like, no matter what happens, like, I get that the doctor's objective is to get the baby out safely and whatever. But as a person, holy shit, I just had a planet, and I just need like a human being right now. Not write me off for a second as some crazy, like, oh, we see this all the time, we birth twins before lunch, we're totally galvanized, not even affected. Like, they're so numb to it. And if you're like a first time mom, that's just really scary. So here's my thing, is like, if your experience with that was that, alienating, and that, like, why why don't I count? You know, the whole time you're pregnant, they're like, oh, you're so special, you're a mom and whatever. And the minute you go to have a baby, they're like, fuck you, you're not even here. Lie down. Like, you don't count anymore. That shit drives me insane. So why would you trust a system that treats you as a mother who is, you know, like a wise enough, like potentially grown adult in this way and says, okay, you no longer have a say, you no longer have sovereignty of your own person? Why would you trust a system that treats you that way to tell you the truth about your own child? And it's not a matter of being paranoid, and it's not a matter of whatever else. Like, if you went to a car dealer, okay, and they said, oh yeah, it's good to go, and you bought this thing and it fell apart a block away, you wouldn't go back to the same place and be like, hey man, do you have anything else? And they fucking rip you off a second time. And you're like, you know, I should go back to the same guy. Who does that? Nobody does that. That's what I'm saying, though. Like, when it's not a matter of, you know, some kind of crazy paranoia. It's like when you look at the facts and you look at the results and you look at the way that things are handled or the way you're treated as a human being, why would you assume that this person has the best possible interest? You know, like if they had the NASCAR stickers for every drug company they were paid, you know, and got vacations for and whatever else just on them, maybe you'd know who you were dealing with, but you don't. You just see a doctor who says, yeah, I'm totally here to help you. I went to school for like 20 years to just help you. Like,
right.
Are you sure? Maybe your parents just really wanted you to be a doctor and you really didn't want to get wrote out of their will, and I don't know who I'm talking to. Like, you know? And it's not, like I said, it's not a matter of like some mass conspiracy. It's just a matter of on a person-to-person basis, like, maybe some shit's off the level here, you know? Like, maybe it's not just a system. Maybe sometimes you get a bad egg. Maybe sometimes it really is a system. But you have to be open to the possibility that there's more to this than just what you see on the surface.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's, you know, I think it's a pretty effective little closing argument there. I think we've got, you know, it seems like Joel here can empathize with David's position, and I'm glad that we got to sit here and talk about it. But I don't know what time it is over there, but it is almost 4:30 over here, and
that's what I'm saying. 3:30.
Yeah, 3:30 a.m.
We got to get to bed.
So maybe Siren, we'll have to have you back on the show again to where we can talk more.
Please come back. Yeah, I want to hear more from her.
Conversation that I meant to have, and when I was driving earlier, first I'm like, there's so much shit I want to put into this, but like at the same time, I'm driving and listening, and then we get onto a different conversation, and I'm like, I can't type this much. I'm sorry, but it's just because to me, it's not the splitting hairs thing is what's going to undo us as libertarians. And like I said, you know, like nobody fights libertarians like libertarians, okay? And I get that in, you know, Ancapistan, we're all going to have different points of view. And some people will say, well, I belong to this order, or I belong to this, you know, guild or belief or whatever the fuck it is. And they're going to have different beliefs than you. But there are going to be people who say, yeah, I understand those people over there, or those guys over there, or I belong to both of these groups, or 10 of these groups, or 120 of these LMPM subgroups, or whatever. You know, like there's always going to be that overlap, but you have to let people do what they're going to do. But you have to open that up to, you know, you can't just say there's only choice A or only choice B. There's an indefinite, endless number of choices or outcomes. And, you know, you talk about these tiny experiments, and that's really what I'm asking for the same thing you're asking for, just from a different perspective.
I could not have said it better myself from the beautiful mind of the wonderful Siren. Also, thank you to David and Mary for being here for the entire, what is it, like 5.5 hours we've been on or something like that?
Oh, shit.
Fun. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was not expecting to be a part of this at all. I was just like so excited to listen. And I'm like, wait, hold on. That's bullshit. I have to call you.
But, well, like I said, we'll have to have you back on another time.
I don't ever expect when I talk to somebody to say, okay, well, in 5 minutes or 3 sentences or whatever, I'm going to win you to my point of view. Maybe you will never agree with me, and maybe you'll be my arch nemesis, and maybe we will fight to the tooth. Like we'll be Jefferson and fucking John Adams, like to the end. Like fuck you, man. I don't agree with you, and just do it. Like, maybe that's what it is, but maybe the conversation that we have will help other people understand the issue better. Maybe it will expose them to different possibilities. And that's what this whole conversation that we're having as a liberty community is really about. It's not about the weather. not about the shit we agree on, not about the memes we all think are funny. It's really about the issues that we don't agree on and the points that we have to just say, hey, like maybe you think differently than I do, and maybe that's just the way it is, and maybe it makes me uncomfortable, but I have to accept that because I can't force you to, you can't tell me what to do. That's the whole point.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of this whole argument, is that we can say, you know what, I don't agree with you, but I want to hear why you don't. And as long as we don't lose that, and as long as we keep talking, we're okay. Because the minute we say, you know what, fuck you, man, shop's closed, shorty, fuck off, like, we're done for it. And that's it. That's all she wrote. That's the end, man. We got nothing left. The minute we decide to stop, having a conversation, we're done for it. As long as we keep talking, we're all right, man. Let's keep talking more.
Yeah, like I always say, the only thing you have to lose is a wrong idea. But I'm going to go ahead and do the intro real quick so we can get off the stream, and then we'll say our final goodbyes after that, I guess. And but if you enjoyed the show, please make sure you check it out at the Liberty After Dark podcast, which is available on pretty much every podcast distributor you could ever ask for. Apple, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. I think some of it's on Spotify, YouTube, wherever. We're all over the place. You can like the Facebook page, Liberty After Dark, join the community group. I post stuff there as far as updates are concerned, if anything changes for the episodes. And that's really all I got. Do you guys have anything?
Thank you for having us on. This was so fun. Christian, you're a wonderful host. This was a really great time. Yeah. Thank you.
I do actually have something to add. And the first part is, number one, thank you for taking my call, because I'm just some random guy in the comments throwing shit out there. You don't have to listen to me. You don't have to listen to any of us.
Make me push it.
And I appreciate it, especially, with Christian and with Dave and Mary, when you take the time to read the comments, because a lot of us are in here like, hey, man, and I know you don't get the comments in real time. I know that. But I tried telling Christian before, one thing I really appreciate is that you take the time to try to read through the whole conversation. And I know that sometimes there's so much going on that it's completely impossible. But really, we are right here with you live the whole time, just saying, hey, hold on, I got a point. I need to throw that in there. But I really appreciate the fact that you guys really do try to hear people out from viewpoints that you don't appreciate, or understand, or even have ever been exposed to, and just say, hey, you tell me how it is. Like, that right there is the whole key to this whole thing. And I have a lot of respect for you guys for actually being willing to hear that out, because most people, as soon as they hear something they don't agree with, they're done. They turn it off, they turn away, they click out, they tune out, they're gone. And you can never get them again. And you guys want to keep digging, keep asking questions. Don't be afraid of the truth. And if it can be destroyed by the truth, let it. Just let it. Keep looking for it. Keep going. It's the only way we're going to do this. You guys are the best. And I don't even know. There's probably like 3 fucking people watching right now, but
I think it's honestly just Joel, but I'm glad he's here right now. So it's super late over in the States. So what's that?
You never know who that one person is. Even if you only reach one person, you never know who that one person is.
Exactly. It's the podcast gets way more reach than the live show, but I like having the live show to interact with people. So it was fantastic once again. We're gonna go ahead and end the live video. So you guys all take it easy.